How's it going, man? Tomorrow here. Thank you for like, sharing, comment, and subscribing to my video. Can I get a sound check? Because some reason I had to switch from the tablet to the actual computer. I wanted to see if y'all can hear me. Can y'all hear me pretty good? All right, let's keep going. Uh, do a sound check here. All right, let's go again. Hit one in the chat if you can hear me right now. All right, that's good enough. Yeah, I did for a second. Can y'all still hear me? Hit one if you can hear me. For some reason this sound shit ain't. All right, okay. All right, man. Let's move on with the show. All right. Thank y'all for coming through. This man tomorrow here. Thank you for like, sharing, comment, and subscribing to my video. If y'all can hit the like button upon coming in, so that way we can get some more people in here, that would be great. Today we're going to talk about this adult male conversation around this issue of the pump and dump. Now I don't see anything wrong with the actual concept based on the people who are left here within this environment, but we keep deliberately missing the point of the conversation because we keep trying to keep people in the conversation who don't belong here. So at the end of the day, you have to realize that the reason why it came to this level of how we had to deal with people in this environment is because of how men were treated in this environment. So you have to realize that this is not anything that you have to fix or anything else. They have gotten here by their actual behavior within the marketplace. So you're going to change your behavior toward people in the marketplace in order to fix the marketplace. Unlike most people here, I have lived in countries that have legalized prostitution. And in countries that have legalized prostitution, you don't have anywhere near this type of problem with women in society because women in society don't get to misuse and abuse things on a level that that men actually assist women in doing in this society. Yeah, if they knew that men can easily get sex from anywhere, there's really no over pursuing of women in the environment, especially incredibly basic looking ones. That type of stuff don't happen. You actually have to bring something to the table other than sex in order to have a conversation about something meaningful within the environment. And that's just the way these things are, you know. A lot of people are actually here to sabotage, deliberately sabotage the conversation around what this is about. But you have to realize that those people are just not here for actually making sure that things work. They're actually here to make sure that things don't work. So you have to understand that it isn't the conversation that is a problem. The problem here is that there's a lot of people here within the environment that don't belong here. Like, look, there's nothing wrong. Like, like everybody's okay with female agency, choosing to choose whatever they want to, being with whoever they want to be with for whatever time period, all those things are fine. But when it comes time for men to set up a counter system in order to actually come through and actually remove their gains within an environment, somehow there's a problem. So obviously, this started with the Mr. Fantastic and Gabe on his channel talking about the benefits of marriage, which I don't disagree with. What's going on, Zero? So people have to understand that whenever you're having this conversation within the environment, you have to realize that SKC, no, I'm sorry, Gabe is coming from a particular perspective to where he probably runs stuff in his household and he found an actual cooperative mate to where this stuff can actually work for the time being. Like nobody is like wishing failure upon him or his relationship, but there is also another side of this relationship, which is the people who are trapped in this environment who haven't found those things. And they always try to put the onus on the man of not finding things that are deliberately not in the environment where people didn't culture it. So it's like you're trying to send people on a wild goose chase to find something that is highly desired, but somehow that is of low in nature within the environment. You have to realize that this is deliberate in its own purpose because it put the onus on the man to try harder to find women within an environment where women don't exist. And you have to realize that if these women have been cultured through their friends, through the actual laws in the country, through bad parenting, through environment, etc., 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 they've been cultured to co-parent. If a woman wants to be married to one guy, she would be. This is why I don't even try to have conversations with women around this issue. So it's kind of okay for women to devalue men to resources to the point to where you have, like this dinner horism shit for as long as that was going on. And people are supposed to ignore the outcomes of bad divorces that are not actually based on anything except for the person wants to walk out of the relationship. So they try to make it look like since you haven't found anybody through all of that, then you must not be trying hard enough. You must not be being competitive enough within the society to in order to get those desired results. So you have to understand. Then there's the Gab Talk Media side of things. He wants to see more black marriages. I mean, the question is kind of why. I mean, I want to see black people together too, but if you deliberately not want to keep into account how we got here and you just want results based off of you not, pretty much donating anything to the cause, it's kind of for naught, man. So we want to see this mythical black family where ran throughs can go hand in hand with inexperienced men, with these slinking players of yesteryear just sitting in the background, just waiting to benefit from all these things that happen within the environment, right? And it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me for a person to go into this environment and act as if nothing is wrong, when in actuality, there is an actual problem. So you have to recognize that this actual conversation about this is incomplete because we're only having a conversation from the level of female agency. we're not really having the conversation from a male agency type standpoint. So you have to realize that these things that are actually happening within the environment, we actually don't give a damn about what men want within the environment. So now we're going to enter something that's called black love. Okay. Since men are not celebrated in any form of fashion within this environment, it doesn't make any type of sense to even think that black love is actually a thing. We only celebrate black love when a black woman, normally not in her sexual prime, ends up getting off the market with a highly productive man that she probably wouldn't even have respected at any point earlier within her life. Because that's what black love is about. Black love is about mostly black women getting what they want to out of the actual deal, while the black man really gets nothing out of it. And these are the things that you actually see within this actual environment. And it isn't really all that fair to the guy because he's been waiting for things that he should not be waiting for. There's no well demonstrated reason for a man to still be on the market past the age of 25, like every other race. And this is why I purposefully don't want to have this conversation in front of sexually compromised men. You know, the men who would compromise anything in order to keep this corrupt system going because they don't have to produce within the society in order to get access to women. The only thing they do is they nurture a woman's irresponsibility and then they lower themselves beneath a woman's irresponsibility and claim that they got game. When this stuff is none of the sort. You have to realize that the only way that you can play this game is to actually put male agency above what she wants and needs in society. That's the only way you could be able to make this stuff work. Because there's just truly no reason to keep trying to play this quote unquote game through her actual disrespect in order for things to happen in your life. Because you have to understand that there's been a run up. What's going on, Waving Brown? What's going on, Roastmaster One? So there's been a run up of like 40 years of feminism that men have to compete with or that they think they're competing with within the actual same society. That they think that these things are actually happening for other people, they're not. In an actual society where men are not respected at all, there is no person within society that has any more handle on this thing than anybody else. What's going on, Doug? This is how some people can claim that they have a hold on female nature. They understand female nature, but somehow the women is still ahead of them in the so-called natural environment to which they exist. And it just doesn't make any rational sense to be sitting here and actually thinking that you're actually are going to make sure that this stuff actually works right. So you have to understand that this stuff, male agency says, I don't have to play this game. I'm going to play the game for my success. So when people bring up the community, they're bringing up women's failure, something that exists before you even had any involvement, and something that you invariably should never try to correct. So you have to understand that most of these people here, they're fine with the way things are because if you try to cash in on this so-called black family, the only thing that you're doing is actually helping them with their goals. They're not helping you with your goals within this circumstance. Because no matter what, the way the actual environment is actually set up, the women are going to win no matter what within this environment. That's the way that it is, at the expense of every other man within the environment. It says that most black men are compromised around the issue of sex in general. There's no way to get a handle or control over this thing except for the start all the way over. You're not going to get these women to re-respect the actual process when they've been getting what they want the entire time. Yes. Why do you think they talk to you about relationship issues? And then all of a sudden, once you get with her, she proves to you why she's single. And she does it over and over and over again. Feminine women, just like old hoes, are cultured. They are made, they are processed by the environment which has created them. So, in the actual SKC versus Ramil debate, minus the back and forth portion of that debate, Ramil is coming from it from a male agency standpoint, and so is SKC. So, Ramil is looking at it as I need to build my money, I need to leave these particular people alone, and I need to be able to do the things that I need to do and stop focusing on useless ass within the environment. Thanks for the 4.99 super chat, Cam Gibson. And SKC is coming from it that I have found what I needed within the actual environment because I went SYSBM and I chose somebody who had a different cultural upbringing than the things that are left within this environment. So while both of them are correct from their particular standpoints, SKC is right because he went and finished the job and he went somewhere else and found someone culturally who haven't had the actual sense of a woman pumped out of him. Now, Ramil is obviously in the United States, and this is the environment that he's in. And most of the women that he runs into in this environment actually sees men as actual resources, which is not a problem. But you need to also look at them as resources as well. So now, we culture men to put up with women's choices, but we don't culture men to make their own choices for them outside of what women want. And that's kind of what the actual issue is here. Is one side wins all the time and another side doesn't even get a chance at it. So when you look at it, for somebody who just wants you to settle for just to be settling with the environment, they actually don't take into account the things that have happened within the environment from beginning to end. They just want you to settle for what's here. And somehow that's a good deal for you. But notice how they don't risk anything while they're asking you to take a chance on everything that you've built in XYZ. I say most, if not all, of these women within this environment should not be allowed to get married. They should be allowed to get culturally married and no higher than that, unless they have a higher percentage of completion rate within cultural marriage, then they'll qualify for actual marriage at some point. But as of right now, I would not trust these people within this environment because you got too many judges, you got too many court systems, you got too many compromised men around, and you got a whole lot of women who act like they don't know what the hell's going on, but all of a sudden they all want to be married for the exact same reason. We cannot be defending the concept of resource risk aversion in marriage, but rather cultural marriage without financial benefit would be a better option for the people here. Full disclosure, I don't give a shit about marriage. I care more about pro intact family. That doesn't mean that I'm anti marriage. I just think the way that marriage is set up now, it is a resource trap whenever the person wants to cash in on it, if they cash in on it. I don't want to be walking around with a guillotine above my head waiting on the person to decide that they want out of the relationship, so to speak. So you have to realize that none of these things are actually good for success. most countries would protect their productive men from these types of situations because how would a man can concentrate on his productivity if it can be taken away by having one wrong relationship? Yeah, Roastmaster, you are right. Compromise man is blue pill or pink pill man. And I will go over that tomorrow night. But it's just like, look, there's no reason to be putting yourself at risk for people here in this environment who has risked nothing for you. Can you think of all the time where all of these domestics have actually treated people with respect, have actually shared the government contracts that they get from these big corporations to the actual people within Black America? Yeah, I can't think of that time either because it doesn't exist. But you are to somehow act like as if it does exist within the same circumstance. But you have to realize that most of these men here don't want you going on and having a better time at anything within this environment. They want you to have the same experience that they've had in the same environment. Most black people are selfish like that. They think it's somehow a great thing to not tell you about basic things that can go wrong within an environment. So you have to understand that most of these men who walk around thinking that they got this stuff under control, they have it under control is because they don't talk about it. This is why they're shamed and humiliated by other people talking about it because it really brings up the actual fact that they don't have this type of control inside their house. Remember, all of these people who want you to be quote unquote married do not have a show that's based on marriage. They can't show you the benefits of it on a day to day basis. Because if they were to bring this woman on with them inside this environment, you would immediately see that they have no more control over this environment than anybody else who makes those claims. And this is why I say, in order for us to see all these things, I think that cultural marriage is better for these people because they haven't been cultured to marry. They've been cultured to co parent and move on to the next option that she sees fit because she sees herself entitled to all the options here. And this is just the way that things are here, man. Like they don't make any sense. So you have to realize that these things don't really work all that well. And you have to realize that most people here don't really care about men and what they go through within this relationship as well. Yeah, it's just that you have to realize that within this environment, that these things are not supposed to work a certain way. And these are the things that they actually do. And I just don't want you making a bad mistake when your agency is at default here. You shouldn't be cultured into making a bad choice so that way somebody else can see this mythical black family. If people want to see this mythical black family, then they better be off their ass getting on top of these women in public about the things that they're supposed to be doing inside society. It should not be your job. The myth of Atlas. It is not your job to make sure that you are out here taking all the risk while everybody else is out here chilling. There is no reason for you to be doing that with your time in society and life. Even though a lot of people, most of them cowards, don't want you actually having a better life than they do. And they get to hide behind this actual pro black nonsense in order for this stuff to happen. And it just shouldn't even be the case. So let me get a graphic up here So that way we can see exactly what you're up against. Second, while I share my screen. Mhm. This is what they want you to compete with within society. This is a person who knows nothing about agency, who's been cultured that there are no consequences for their actions, no matter what they do. And somehow you have a bunch of huckster class frauds who showed up out of nowhere who claiming they got game. And somehow your game is going to compete with what's on the screen right here. And that they have so many solutions to these questions that they're so secret. And they are practicing the same game with the same environments that everybody else is practicing. But somehow they have out alphaed everything within society. And somehow they have more results than anybody. Thanks so much for the super chat, Tavarius Wiley. Love coming moving forward. Yes, grinding. Yeah. So you have to realize that this is actually what you see here. Hold on a second. I'm not sure why y'all can't see my screen. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Some reason the screen just disappeared and it's not even allowing me to screen share. All right, forget it. Let's just keep going with the discussion here. What's going on, Black Brain Trust? What's going on, Benjamin D'Souza? All right. So this is what we're going to go on to from here. I personally think that people want others to take the risk that they would never actually experience from. Because you have to understand that everybody has this culture that they want this mythical black family. But nobody has this culture of saying that they're not getting off their ass to correct the actual system. The only thing they want you to see here is that they benefit somehow. They benefit. So let's go into the three types of disingenuousness that you hear and see on this actual topic. The first group of disingenuous people that I see on the topic are other married people. Most disingenuous married people, when they come to this conversation, actually think you can vet your way through post hoc rationalizations that are backed up by the government. What's going on, Paul Blunt? What's going on, Marco Grande? And they actually think that no matter how good you vet, the the better your vet game is, the more she don't cash in on the actual benefits in society whenever she wants to end the relationship. You can't vet your way through post hoc rationalizations. You can't vet through that. And it's not your job to even look like a failure because these things are actually happening within society. It's just not the case. This has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with the things that are happening in society. This is their problem. Your problem, getting your life straight. Their problem, finding a successful mate. So you have to realize that you and them, you don't have the same goals. You just don't. That's just the way that things are, man. And you at this point in time, you need someone who you can actually bring within your house that can actually work alongside with you. What those people need is they need off the market. You see, you and them have different goals right now. And it's not your job to care about people who don't have a track record of giving a damn about you. The second level of BS that I hear is that, oh, you haven't found the right person, BS. I love that one. That is my favorite thing out of everything else. Now, you don't see any of these marriage shows around here where things are working right. Hell, Oprah don't even have one. So if she ain't got one to show off, or Steve Harvey ain't got one to show off, why would anybody else have this stuff figured out if the people in entertainment don't? And they want you to find the right person while ignoring the track record of what can go wrong in the environment. And these people actually think you can vet your way through that. They actually think you can vet their way through that. So much so to the point that you have these older adults who are so called so good at the game that they're 50 something years old and they're still on the market in the same circumstance that you're supposed to have had this stuff figured out in the same environment. How does that work? The second group of people are the compromised single men. Their disingenuousness on the subject, they actually think that they don't think that it's a problem at all. They love things the way that they are because they get all the access that they want. They don't want to change anything. They're more than willing to compromise themselves to do whatever they need to within the environment. They're not held to any type of standard within the environment. And they walk around with female talking points in their mouth all day long. Now, in other cultures, people like this would never get access to any type of woman. This is why these people are so dead set against traveling. Because when you travel to other places, now your character comes into play. Here, your character doesn't come into play. Actually, the less character you display, the less male agency you display, the more you're rewarded for it. The more you act like a uncultured reptile within this environment, the more you are rewarded for it. The more that you're not moving anywhere within your life, the more you are rewarded for it. The faster you are to be violent for any nondescript reason, the more you are rewarded for it. The closer you are to gang culture and its popularity among dumbass people, the more you are rewarded for it. So an environment is not going to reward anything here other than what keeps her in charge with her power. What's going on, Mike B? What's going on, Goshen? Yeah, Goshen, I get it. 53 and somebody would come up to you and blame you for the problems that are going on in society as if you had something to do with it. That's the things that I don't get, man. And these people, the compromised single men, because the men within this environment are okay with access. They're okay with being sexually bought off within this environment, right? So these people are more than okay with things that have went on within this environment. And they actually see that compromising and capitulating to a woman's need in order to get access and eventually married to her is the correct way to go. Not keeping your agency and having her work alongside you, you have to get rid of your agency and work alongside her. Like that don't make any sense. But this is the way you're being cultured as a man to behave within this environment. And then you wonder why the women within the environment doesn't have to see themselves as actually changing. Because they can always find another compromised man as soon as they turn the corner. This is just the way that things go out here. And it's really truly not your fault that the things are not really, here, but you have to recognize that you do have some position to play in this to make sure that this stuff doesn't keep happening within the environment. It's called male agency. It's called not caring about what they bring to the table. You can't expect something from an environment where it's not cultured at on average. You can't. So let's talk about the third measure of people in this environment who I intentionally never invite to the conversation. Oh yeah, you're right, Marco Grande. You never know how little you know until you travel somewhere. Now, the women I don't invite to the environment because they have a level of disingenuousness on the subject. You have to keep in mind their opinions, no matter what, doesn't matter to me at all. It's not that I hate women or anything like that, but they are the beneficiaries of a broken environment. So they're not going to take rights away from themselves within an actual environment. This is why I don't would listen to women when they have infinite choice in an environment and they're still single. There's no well documented reason why a woman would want to be single within this society unless she actually wants to be so. Again, that has nothing to do with you, had everything to do with her. And she's sitting around in this same environment looking for another compromised guy to accept what she currently has on the table. This is why you don't see a black women spear around here or women working together, talking about their issues and working through them. They just go and find compromised men within the black manosphere and actually work to get wrenches on their channels and do all that kind of other stuff. And they don't have to demonstrate any level of change because they know how the work environment is set up. And they know how lowly cultured black men are on average that they'll do anything to make it look like you are, Roastmaster. I am being pretty nice, but I'm trying to make sure this thing don't get flagged. So you have to make sure that these are the type of people are within this environment. This environment does not attract younger women of fertility. This environment attracts older women who's out of time. And the only thing the women are here to do within this environment is celebrate their wins over y'all in this environment. These women ain't trying to change. They're just trying to find more compromised dudes who are going to help them with the Super Mario star. They're not trying to get off the market. They're trying to be on the market as long as possible because they know the way this is set up that they're going to be able to find someone else in order to deal with. And that's just the way things are here, man. And you have to recognize that we can't really have what's going on, Sister George? What's going on, Game Changer? You you have to realize the reason why you can't have these honest conversations about pump and dump is because they don't want the woman being devalued within an environment. Nobody does. They're okay with the man being devalued. They're okay with the man being used for resources. Oh, we love the clown dudes whenever they get used by people in society. But we would never exercise the same level of thing against women within the actual same society. And this is why you can't have a grown up conversation about pump and dump because it's seated toward the women because most men are too damn compromised within the environment to even talk about the actual issue at hand because they don't want change. Because if things had to change, which I'm saying you could change for yourself faster than you can actually wait for change in the actual rest of society. If things changed for yourself, you would be off the field yourself. And then you wouldn't have to worry about the communities of people who didn't do the right thing that they were supposed to do in society, but somehow they're waiting on you to have less agency over yourself to actually respect what she brings to the table. But you have to realize in these actual environments that there's a lot of men in government who actually keep this stuff going. It isn't just the women. So y'all have to realize that this conversation is very okay for men to be pumped and dumped within this society, but somehow men don't get to exercise the same thing because they don't think men have equal rights like women do. So what we're going to do, I'm going to drop the link in the chat. If I don't know you, you're definitely not coming on. So we're going to be able to have a substantive discussion about this going forward. We're going to have that for about an hour, maybe two, and then we're going to roll up out of here. I'm probably going to pull this down and put this on Patreon, but we'll see. Now, she didn't get kicked out over here. Well, we don't kick people over here. You got an argument, bring it. So that's the link out there. I want people to be able to join the discussion. So that way we could be able to talk further on what you've heard. Maybe if some people want to disagree, I want them to come on too. But this is what I want going on here. Because this isn't a hard issue at all. But for some reason, whenever it comes time for a man to actually do the things that he wants to within an environment, it's somehow a bad decision for a man to be selfish for his own needs. But somehow it's okay for a woman to be selfish for her own needs within the same environment. So I'm not sure how this is supposed to work. If you are supposed to be putting yourself beneath someone within an environment that you expect to be respected, what's going on, Vision? Thanks for the $5 Canadian bunk bet. Yeah, at this point, man, yeah, what's going on, Spiritual Logic Hulk, man? What's going on, man?
What's up? What's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear,
Okay.
man.
Cool. Yeah, man. I mean, man, look, this you make it so logical into it. It pains me that we have to keep edifying the same points, but it needs to be said over and over again. You know, a lot of people think because I'm a biblical man that I'm promoting marriage in an unbiblically uncultured society, and I would never do that because marriage is actually from a pretense where men have control, legal authority and rulership over their resources and family. What women don't have, what they have in this dysfunctional culture. You know, and I tell people that because they think I'm always going to jump on, oh, you got to get married. Why would I push? This is not marriage in this culture. This is prostitution and whoredom. This is not marriage.
It isn't, and it serves a very nefarious intent.
Exactly.
Like if we wanted people to be married, we would actually have this actually in school. We would remove the things in society, or we would actually listen to the things that men are actually complaining about if they actually wanted the actual result that they wanted.
Facts. I mean, it's crazy, man. Because like you said, man, you can't build a system that caters to irresponsible choices that women make. And that's exactly what we have, where women can make the worst choices in life and still be qualified for something that they have they would have been eliminated from in a decent culture.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously we can't have blind people driving, but at the end of the day, that's what they actually endorse.
Facts.
It's and here's the thing. I'm an atheist that used to be a fundamentalist Christian, and I think we pretty much agree on everything
Yep.
outside of religion.
Yep.
Because this stuff isn't hard. Because I want better outcomes. And you
That's
really
it's
can't
simple.
argue better outcomes. It's really no two ways about better outcomes. It's either you do want them or you don't want them.
Well, like you've always said, the guys that are against productivity and male choice are the same guys that cater to female irresponsibility and don't hold these women accountable. They're the same guys that think that women are blameless in every situation. They're perpetual victims. That's why they never want to, hold these women to task or make them accountable for the choices they make, because that's the only scenario where they're qualified to these
Yeah,
dysfunctional females.
yeah, and it's like they're willing to give up agency within this actual situation, so that way they can look like they're winning a temporary man's game. Like it doesn't make any sense. No, thank for the $5 super chat, Dallas Cowboys, and it's like this is where we're at.
Yeah, a lot of these dudes, they so comfortable. The ones who promote and champion female empowerment, they're so comfortable arguing, and they call, when they say you have to argue, you have to be able to handle a woman. You should handle a woman. What is that? Is she an animal? You got to put on a mitt like you would handle a snake? It's stupid that they expect that they've normalized arguing, fighting with a woman that should be coming to you under a willing form of submission, because she qualifies you as the man that she wants to run the household, run her life. But they expect you to just sit there and negotiate with a terrorist in your own home. They can take everything from you because she had an emotional distress. Now, I wouldn't promote that in this culture. And I like
Uh,
I've never been against people going wherever they have to go to find cultured uh, women.
yeah, and it's like you have to sit in an environment and actually deal with things in an environment where you don't have choice, but the other side has all of the choice. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense. All right, let me shout out this Cash App. Thank you for the $20 Cash App. Let me see here. What am I going to say? Thank you so much, Larry Michael from Louisiana. Yeah, I think I responded to your email earlier. Yeah. So yeah, man. So this is just where we're at right now, and it's like it doesn't make any logical sense. Oh, okay, okay. Let's think about it logically. Why it would be a good idea to leave the women in charge of things currently how they're going right now. Let's just talk about it logically. All right. If and only if these women were turning, if these women were taking these kids away from these men, if they was turning these kids on average, into doctors, lawyers, accountants, I'm talking about all of them inside the household, in a
Hmm.
single parent environment that outdid the Asians, the Indians, and most Latins within this country, I would fully endorse women sperm jacking every man in society under that specific system.
Yeah.
However, that is not what we have. We have the complete opposite.
They fail on every
Major.
level.
Yeah.
Every level. There's not one level where single women actually do anything beneficial to children, to society, or anything. There's no argument on their side. It's just
Yeah.
this unaccountable victim mindset that's
Yeah.
rooted in
And
feminism.
yeah. And you would think that they would want things to get better. You would think the pro blacks, the people who want to see this black family, would address the people who have the kids. But they don't want to do that. They want to address the men as not taking the women who have had kids. And that's their idea of actually handling this thing in an actual environment that makes sense. Thanks for the $3 super chat, King 44 Cobra. That's a pieces MLT. Yeah, it's like that's where we're at.
Yeah, man, it's dumb. I don't know why men will just give. They don't. The men who champion for marriage in this system should be holding these women to task. They should be trying to reclaim their legal power. They should be doing the most, but they're not. They love this system that empowers the irresponsible female because that's how they cater to her. That's how they that's what makes them important is that they just give her a pass for everything so they can be chosen. Not realizing that they're disrespected and they just like the dysfunctional culture. They like arguing with a woman who's cheating on you, who's trying to steal your money and doing that's what they consider normal. That's why they say you have to learn how to handle a woman. You can't handle a strong woman or whatever feminist BS that is.
All right, let's welcome to the panel the general. Can you hear us?
Hey, what's going on, brother? Can you hear me?
What's
Yeah,
going on?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
long
man.
time, MOT. I appreciate you for having me up, brother. And you had spoke about having me on, and I see that I finally get the opportunity to join you. And
Yeah.
the other brother, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name, brother. I
You
don't
call you
see it.
call me spiritual logic hope.
All right,
Either one.
spiritual logic. Okay, hey, check it out. So I'm listening in to what you brothers are saying, and you are absolutely right. Have everybody, I think most of the people who have heard me speak on YouTube before knows my history, right? And you are absolutely right. You're demonized when you try to have, as a man, some type of, some type of morals and scruples and a standard, right? When the women I was with and married to and had children with and tried to do the right thing by did not measure up to the standard, they had to go bye-bye. What's up, baby? Yeah, I get them. So when they couldn't measure up to the standard, they had to go bye-bye. It's just that simple. And as I've gone and been on various panels and talked about the scenarios that I've had, not all of them were bad women. They actually were educated and they actually had great jobs and they were good mothers. But at the end of the day, they were uncompromising to a degree to whereas I felt no need to continue on in the relationship. When you get to a point where you're being argumentative with a person that's bringing more than 80% of the way you sustain life is taking
Yeah.
care of you to a point of 80% of the way you sustain life, someone else is providing that for you. That means your medical, your dental, your food, your clothing, your lodging, the car that you drive, the cell phone that you speak on, the entertainment that's provided for you. Someone else is providing that for you holistically. And then you want to sit and be indifferent to that person. The lack of respect will no longer be tolerated. And I'm in total agreement with it. You have to find a woman that will work with you and your program. And if she fails to understand that, then you have a scenario where you will continuously be in a position of discussion which way you're going to go. And as a man, that's just not who we are biologically. For most men who are men of substance, that's not who we are biologically. A man's
Exactly.
biological role is to lead, is to dominate. That is a man's biological role, period. The 6 foot 2 inch space that I control vertically, the 360-degree space that I control horizontally from fingertip to fingertip, the size 12 and a half shoe print that I tread across the earth's surface on, I dominate and control that space. And anything that enters into that bubble has to understand that I am in control of that. This
Yeah,
is
and
I, this is not. I'm sorry. I don't want to take up your
no, go
panel,
ahead, go ahead.
but
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
this is not a bipartisanship leadership, or this is not a bipartisan leadership style when you enter into an agreement or a contract with a real man, a man of substance. I don't need you to help me pay the mortgage. I don't need you to help me pay the car notes. I don't need you to help me to buy the food. I don't need you to help me to do all of those things because I'm more than capable and I can, will, and do provide those things for you. Now, if you're making twice the amount of money that I make, and you come in here and say, "Hey, you know what? I just want you to sit back and be the king on the throne, and I'm gonna do all that shit for you." Now you get a say so. You get a say so for most men. Even in that scenario with me, you don't. I don't give a fuck if you make 3 times the amount of money I make. I am the
Exactly.
man. I control the space.
Exactly.
And I'll pass the mic back to you, brothers.
And
Yeah,
that's
like
kind of why. Oh, go ahead. You got it.
okay, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Now I was just gonna say, and that's kind of why women are striving to make money, not to actually add to what the man is doing so that they can support him, but it's basically to create a more bigger space of negotiation that they don't have to obey the man. That's kind of why women and female empowerment is so destructive, because they're not using it to build and support the man. They're using it to try to compete with the man.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Have an equal say, an equal footing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I pay my car note and my insurance and my cell phone bill, and I help with the bills in the house. So how come you? Well, because it just doesn't work that way.
They're fighting
Yeah,
nature.
yeah. I mean, like, here's the thing. We obviously don't want bad outcomes here. We actually want good outcomes. Like me, I don't give a damn if it is not marriage. I just want the intact family households so that way we can correct this actual problem. I mean, because it is a problem. Because it's going to be solved one way or another. It's going to be solved with the women of the environment, or it's going to be solved without the women within the environment.
Here's the deal, MOT. I listened to a video on Bernard Riley, had a great show. Shout out to Bernard. He was able to get monetized. Got to give him a shout out. Bernard Riley, if you're listening, it's a shout out to you, brother. He played a video this morning. If you listen to what that woman was saying, she was talking about we're left with nothings out here and we have to get this and I have to take 4 or 5 different men to make one and all this shit. Well, I would tell you that you've been dealing with I would tell that particular sister, she's been dealing with a group of compromised men. She's been dealing with a group of substandard, subpar men. And there's nothing wrong with that. I call out, see, here it is. I believe in being fair and equal across the board. If you're a man and you ain't shit, if you creating kids, shooting sperm and creating kids and these bitches and walking off, leaving them, and you ain't handling your responsibility, nigga, use a fuck nigga. Point blank, period. Use a fuck nigga.
Yeah,
Point blank, the fuck, period.
Yeah,
you,
I agree.
you know why,
Let me shout out these
these. Oh, okay.
cash apps real quick. Thanks for the Patreon, Ronan Unson. Thanks for the Cash App, Charles Merchant. Thanks for the Cash App, Roast Master One. Look like Ronan Unson was my first Patreon, man. Hey, man, thanks for the subscribe to the Patreon, man. I'm gonna be dropping a lot of content there, man. A lot of stuff I obviously can't say on YouTube, but yeah, it's gonna be popping. I just launched it right now, and this is the link to the Patreon. But here's what people don't understand: the people here have the most control over the outcomes of the environment that they could claim to complain about. But it's like it isn't our responsibility to over pursue to do the job of 5 and 6 men because they've been through 400 to
But
be minimally happy. That's
let
not
me
our
add
job.
to real quick to bounce off what you and the general was saying. The reason why these women are choosing these compromised men is because they know that they're either not the qualified woman or they refuse to be the qualified woman that a qualified man deserves. See, that's why they actually are always going to choose the men that they can argue with. They're going to choose the men that they can uh, try to use money to control them or any other thing. See, guys like us, it's not going to work with us. So they have to go find 3 weak men so that they can, you know, dwell and thrive in that irresponsible environment because they refuse to be the qualified woman that a qualified man demands. See, we're demanding it. It's not a negotiation. You either are or you're not. You're not here.
That's it. You either are or you're not. What a lot of these sisters want, they want to go out here and make X amount of dollars so they can say, this is what I bring to the table. Now I get equal say. So that they can
Exactly.
sit up on your couch in your house with their feet up in your couch, patting on the goddamn weed, sawing on their fucking fingernails, staring in their goddamn camera phones with a bunch of fucking filters on it, watching love and hip hop and basketball and all this other bullshit. And then when you come in after 16, 18 hours of working to provide for this heifer, She want to look you in your face while you got a food full of refrigerator, the goddamn sink still full of dishes when you got a brand new goddamn dishwasher in there. The clothes baskets are fucking filled up. Then she want to look you in your face and say to you, "What we gonna eat for dinner?"
Ex-
Bitch, you been sitting here all day and you mean to tell me you don't know how to crank up a stove and cook a fucking meal? No, they want to use the excuse, "I work too." Listen here, man. Listen here. I come from a generation. I'm a Generation X guy, so I come from. I grew up in a different environment. I come from a generation where even if the woman did work, guess what she did when she came off her job? She went in that kitchen and made sure that she cooked a meal for when her husband came home and he had something to eat. She did that
Yep.
and didn't complain about it. She made sure that that house was clean, that environment was stable. She made sure that those children were taken care of, that they got their baths at night. She tried to help them with their homework as best as she could. This was after her coming in off an 8 hour job because she understood the male female strength dynamics. She
Hmm.
understood that the provisions that that man was able that the man was providing for her, the protection that she had underneath the man's rule and roost, she understood that those things were greater if she worked together with him instead of trying to work equally with him. I'll say that again. Work together with him instead of trying to work equally with him. Here's what I mean by working together with. Together with is like in harmony, the yin and the yang. Hey, we all got a part to play here. We know that the average black couple, both parties have to work. We understand this. So when you introduce children into that environment, it does not matter who inquires more responsibility. What matters is that the team is working for the betterment of the overall good of everybody involved. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean,
I made it
I
You
simple.
mean,
got a you got a goddamn brand new state of the art washer and dryer here that does damn near everything. Let me get this out, man, because I haven't been able to break this down for all of the women who are listening and for all of the
take your
women who
time,
say,
brother.
"Well, I got a job too. I work too. I'm tired too." Okay, let's
Oh
just
wow.
think about this. You got a brand new state of the art washer and dryer. You got a brand new goddamn glass top cooktop oven and range in there. You got a brand new goddamn state of the art vacuum cleaner in there. You don't have to goddamn me wash clothes on a rub board. First of all, you don't have to boil water, then wash clothes on a rub board, then hang them out on the line. That's a different scenario. We're not in those times. As a man, I can do everything in this 2,700 square foot home that I need to do in order to survive life. Without a woman, I can cook my meal, I can wash clothes, dry clothes all at the same time. I can talk on the phone with my homeboys. I can even watch the game while doing all of those things above and vacuum the goddamn floor. I might have to go on mute a couple of times, but I can do all of these things.
All right, well,
You
let me
got
shout out to
motherfuckers that don't even want to
wait, wait,
make up the goddamn bed when they get up out of it. Go ahead, brother.
thanks for the $15 Patreon, Cardigan Flynn. Thanks for joining up. Like I said, I'm gonna be dropping a lot of content on there that I actually want to talk about that I know I can't talk about on YouTube, man. So I really thank y'all for supporting, man. But go ahead. Uh,
Women,
Yeah.
women do not want the true essence of equality. They don't want that. I've been in countries where equality is actually in its pure form. I've been to those countries, and trust me, they don't want that.
Nah. And let me also add that, see, if you go back, in the older days, women actually preferred to stay busy because women who did housework were actually happier than women who invaded male spaces. See, women now exist in male spaces, but they're more miserable. They're on more psychotropic drugs, and older people knew, including the older women, knew that idle time was the devil's playground. You got a woman who's late, regardless whether she works or not. She's sitting at home. That woman is 9 out of 10 going to get into some trouble. Women actually staying busy actually gives their mind an occupying their mind actually keeps them out of trouble because they're designed to uphold the house. That's what they're designed for. See, women are rejecting roles. They're rejecting nature. They
You're
well,
don't.
I
absolutely
mean,
right. Go ahead,
well, I mean,
Witness.
it's because they've been liberated from that unjustly. Like their labor didn't do that. Their actual liberation from that is the reason why nothing works.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
And they would
facts.
rather have nothing working than to keep the own power that they got. That's crazy. I mean, like, why on earth would men want to be in a household with somebody who's competing with them? How could you possibly run an actual effective camp with co-ownership? I never understood how that happened.
No,
I never
because I could,
understood the burden of that. I
because
never understood.
I didn't either. Because here's a proven fact. Men generally, if when I was a young man, I had a roommate in college and later on in life, I had a roommate. When I first came into the military, I had a roommate, and we got along like two peas in a pod. We didn't have any issues. We didn't argue over bullshit. You take two women, two average women of average time, of average the same as two men. You put them in a house together. They can't last as long as men do in that scenario because it's the jealousy and the catfighting takes over.
Yeah, I hear you
The
there, man.
jealousy and the jealousy and the catfighting takes over. You understand
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Men,
facts.
men, men understand how to work together in order to, better themselves. Some men who are actually men. I can't say all, right? Men understand that there's two things that are going to happen in a disagreement. Either we're going to come to a diplomatic understanding, or shit's going to get physical real quick. We
Well, you
understand
know,
that.
even with the alternative lifestyle women, they're suppressing the stats of domestic violence among two women trying to cohabitate. They're
Oh, I
suppressing
see
that
it in the
information.
military all the time. I see it in the military all the time. It's just as many women who are in alternative lifestyles that are fucking each other up as it is
Yep,
men fucking up women. And it's
probably
just as
more.
many women, it probably is more. It's just as many women that are fucking up men. Men just don't get the same opportunity to complain about it or to say
Exactly.
that I'm being verbally and physically abused. Men just don't, because we operate differently. This is the biological and this is the genetic makeup of men. We just kind of muscle through it and get through it because at the end of the day, you have pride to think about. You have your reputation to think about. You have all of these things. So you can't go tell your homeboy, man, yeah, Gladys got mad at me last night, man. I stayed out drinking a little too long, shooting pool with the boys. When I came home, man, she was like a wild Black Panther in that motherfucker. She tore up all my shit. Men don't typically
Hmm.
do that. We
Yeah,
can't go tell our homeboy that we got hit in the back of the head with a frying pan because you look weak. You understand?
yeah.
We
But
can't do
but
that.
but not just that. Thanks to the subjectiveness of the law, men are trying to avoid any confrontation with a female because of the
Yeah.
subjectiveness of how it can perceived in this legal system. Ain't nobody look. Even an argument could be seen as a form of verbal abuse.
Those are facts.
It sure
So
can.
we
Well, let me
can't. We can't.
hold,
Okay, you
hold a
got
second.
it.
Hold. Let me congratulate Roastmaster One become a $15 Patreon of mine. Thanks so much for coming through, man. Thanks so much for supporting me. But go ahead, Hope.
Yeah, we can't afford to. We can't afford to deal with uncooperative, unfeminine women. It's not just our preference; it's our survival nature that can get everything taken. You can lose your job having a domestic issue with a woman. Dudes can't survive cat fighting with women and all. So we can't survive like that. We need
See,
order and peace in our households.
you can do a
All right.
comparative analysis. And I've done a comparative analysis because I work with hundreds of young men every day and a lot of Black young men. So I ask Black and white young men and young women, I ask questions, because I'm in the military, I'm active duty army. So I asked them, I said, hey man, I said, what's up? You got a girlfriend? What's the deal with you? Just kind of get to know. That's what you do. Coach, team, mentor, train, and cultivate, right? Those are the pillars. So you know what 90% of the young Black men that are entering into armed forces service today are telling me, that are saying to me, you know what they say to me?
What's
Man, I
that?
don't fuck with I don't fuck with Black chicks, man. I don't fuck with Black girls. I'm like, why, man? That's Black women are the greatest thing. They're beautiful, man. Are you crazy? Look at that. Look at that one over, boy. Look. And you know what they say? Nah, man, they ain't fun. They don't like to do fun shit. They want to be controlling. They want to boss
Yep.
every goddamn thing. They want everything to go their way.
Yeah, I feel you, man. Well,
This
let
is
me
what
get this.
this is what they're telling me.
Wait, hold on. A second. Let me get this. Aaron Jackson, what's going on, man? Thanks for showing the
How
show,
are
man.
you
What's going
doing,
on?
man of tomorrow? Can you
You
hear
doing all
me?
right, sir? Yeah, I can.
From what I'm understanding so far, which is a very good conversation, by the way, one of the commentators said men understand that in a nutshell that we do have to work together when it comes to certain situations. How you doing, everybody?
You doing all right?
What's going on, bro?
All right. Well, go ahead, General.
I'm gonna be on mute for just a minute, brother.
All right, Hope, go ahead, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think, look, man, we making good points, man. Look, it is counterproductive for a man to expend energy trying to deal with a woman when our energy should be put in our productivity, into securing ourselves on all level, and basically doing what we're designed to do. We're not designed to sit there and argue with women. We're designed to argue with life, to deal with its problems, to make solutions, to build and produce. That's our function. Not to sit there and wrestle with our woman. Our woman is supposed to be our calming agent. They're supposed to be our pleasure. They're supposed to be our support system. That's what they're designed for. Like the general said, we don't need women to do anything but be feminine, cooperative women. That's what we need. All the other stuff. Look, if I wanted a partner, I would not choose, a partner in business, I wouldn't go choose a woman. If I wanted, women have a role, they have a design. And women in culture societies, they understand that. And like you said, in this culture, well, in a decently ran culture, women functioning the way they do in the US will be totally eliminated. They will be ostracized, they will be punished, there will be societal and cultural legal consequences for this kind of behavior. But in this culture, women actually being poor are rewarded. Women, I mean, not being able to provide, having children with bum dudes and being on poverty, they get rewarded. They don't get, shamed. Women can throw away children. They can abort like it's no problem. Men could be fighting paternity cases of children that are not even theirs. And depending on the state and the situation, you could be liable for child support for a child that ain't even yours, depending on how much you knew, and what you signed. Like,
All right, well,
it's
hold
too
on a
much.
second, Hope.
Okay.
Thanks for the $25 Patreon, Joachim Grace. Thanks so much for supporting. All right, go ahead, Hope.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
Sorry.
you can go ahead. You go ahead, bro. Say you ain't saying that. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, it's just at the end of the day, man. Like these are not things that we should be repeatedly going over or going through. But you have to understand that the choices that you make for your own self are far more important for the other things, more important than the other things that people are doing in society. And if we cannot create a society where men's choices matter, starting with the people who are listening here, it's never going to happen. You're always going to be outnumbered by people who believe in female agency so much that they're going to just do whatever they want to make sure that things don't work or happen for regular men. That's just the way it is, man. And your
And
choices matter just like everybody else's. If her choices can matter on a certain type of level, so can yours.
But women always want equal authority without equal responsibility. And that's where they don't understand. Like, they go hand in hand. The reason why men have to have full authority over life, over their family, over their resources, is because a man is going to always take full responsibility. That's why he wants to control his how things run. That's why he has to be the upholder of structure and order, so that we can prevent things from happening instead of being reactive. Women are reactive. Men are trying to prevent getting into situations. Women want to react to the situation. And if you look at the so-called black community and the black family, it's all reaction. These guys have no idea what to do because they have been raised in matriarchal circumstances that make them think like women. And then it's like two women in the household because they don't know how
Yeah.
to make better choices.
Pardon me
You
if
know,
I may chime in.
oh,
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I do agree with spiritual logic that when it comes to basically men and women, men would rather, and I hope you can answer this, men would rather be proactive than reactive, in the sense not every situation deserves a reaction, but instead, folk, instead look up the circumstances and look up other things involved and then respond accordingly. Correct?
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to go. Well, hold on a second. Thanks for the $15 Patreon, Jamal. Thanks so much for supporting, man. Well, go ahead.
That is what you are saying, right? Spiritual logic?
Yeah. And if when things are running correct, yeah.
Yeah,
And if I'm
it's kind of like we wait hold on a second. Thanks for the 4.99 super chat and also 357. Thanks so much for coming through, man. Yeah, man, but it's kind of like we've been socialized into things not working right as being normal, and there's no way that we can be able to move forward with things operating the way that it currently is. I mean, it's just not something that we're going to be able to keep taking on. You're going to have to be able to cut some of this stuff back, man, and operate on your own accord and stop worrying about things that predate you. Because a lot of this stuff actually has nothing to do with actual progress. It has everything to do with solidifying her position within the environment, right? So it's
Exactly.
not like, yeah, go ahead.
Because that's why women are so mad when men are making better choices, because they're trying to secure their position to keep the cleanup man around. So after they've done been used and abused by all these useless men, they expect to still be qualified as a wife to gain attention from a productive man. But see, we're destroying that narrative, and that's where all the vitriol is coming from. The cleanup man, they want us to keep that around, but look, dudes who actually built, who are wise and productive in their lives, are not don't want ran through dysfunctional, irresponsible women.
Yeah, I get it,
exactly,
man. It's just at the end of the day, man. We just need to move this stuff up and not worry about it. We need to just move this conversation from where it currently is and create our own space with this stuff that y'all donated, so that way we can have a space that works for everybody. Because apparently, I'm not working on behalf of unfeminine women. I'm not working on behalf of unreformed criminals. I'm not working on behalf of any of that shit. We need to have our own space where things work for decent, actual black men, because we don't have it in America. We don't have a news site for us. The other side already have World Star Hip Hop, BET, all this other stuff that helps them, the Breakfast Club, stupid shit that ain't got nothing to do with black male progress.
exactly.
Nothing to do
If,
with it. Nothing to do with it.
if I may
And
ask, oh,
wait, hold on a second. Thanks for the $10 super chat, Young G Bone. How about the mothers with the only one son? They can expect their grown son not to move into his own. Yes, Young T Bone. It's not even. It's worse than you think, man. There are parents who keep their kids as like domesticated pets and don't want their kids to move on beyond their actual control, man. Which I mean, dude, in the South where I'm from, it is disgusting. I see that all the time.
Well, there
Thanks
was
for the
a
$15 Patreon, OJ Fearer. But go ahead.
there was a movie that was created that kind of showed that, and it was Think Like a Man, Act Like a Lady, Act Like a Woman, whatever it was called. Remember the character, the dude, the young dude whose mom was he was cuckold to his mother, and the girl was like, I can't compete with your mother. He was always lying to her about he had to go do this, he had to go do that. Oh, I got to take my mom here. I got it this Sunday. I got to take my mom to church. Got to go have breakfast with my mom. And she kept telling him like, when are you gonna? And finally, at the end of the movie, he got it. You remember that? I think the dude's name was Trey, who played that character in that movie. Do you remember that? His mother was just wanted to be his girlfriend and wanted to be in control and charge of his life. And oh,
Yeah.
she got a and his mother was telling, oh, she got a daughter. And she was a good chick by all accounts. She just had a kid. And his mother was like, oh, she got a what you mean, you with her and I don't think no, And then he finally woke up out of that shit and was like, it's time for me to leave my mama's skirt tail and go out and do my own thing in the world. So there are plenty of examples that have been around that show exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. It's yeah,
These
yeah.
motherfuckers want take me as I am. Listen here, man. We got to stop being so diplomatic and get to the point. You got black men and black women that are take me as I am. You got niggas that want to go out here, don't want to finish school, they don't want to get a technical, they don't want to be able to do anything in life. They want to be able to be fucking superstars, doing whatever, ghetto superstars, in and out of jail, lay around, play PlayStation, get a job long enough just to goddamn get an income tax return, have a couple of babies, and then expect the chick to give them the kid's social security card so they can claim the kid to get some to get enough money back to go get some goddamn old ass box Chevy and put some goddamn 24s on it. That's what you have on the man side. Then you got take me as I am females.
Messed up.
Take me as I am females. They probably got, you know, CNAs and maybe a little nurse or whatever, but they are addicted to those type of men. Because those type of men do not have standards. I've had experience enough to know that once you apply standards to a situation in a relationship, if that woman cannot uphold those standards or fail to fucking realize what you're trying to do as a man and trying to move forward in life and create a certain type of standard of living for yourself and for her, they'll buckle and they'll go away. I don't have an issue with that. I've been through it. I know this is my standard. No, you're not gonna dress like a slut. You're not gonna dress like a hoe. No, you're not gonna go down here to fucking girls' weekend out, and you're not gonna do all this goddamn lap dancing and shit and think and call that fun. Nope.
Yeah.
Not happening. No girls trips here where you can go and goddamn do the wild thing on the flip side of shit, and then you want to run home and be the angel. And no, we're not doing that. There's a standard here, and this is my standard. That's what men provide: standards, discipline, and the household. That's their job: standards, discipline, order, protection. Not necessarily in those orders. You could say protection number one, standards number two, disciplines number three, order number four. Doesn't matter how you put those things in order. That's what your job is as a man.
Yeah, I feel you,
When
man.
when I had to go to young soldiers' houses who've had issues with their marriages, right? You get soldiers, they get to fighting with their wives or whatever, and you got to go and intervene and all this shit. And from the moment I walk through the front door, I can tell what's going on because the house is fucked up. He could be a stellar soldier. The house is fucked up. The kids are running around in Pampers with no shirt on, no shoes, food and dishes and shit everywhere. I know that there's not any standards, discipline, and order being provided in that house. I can from the moment I walk through the front door, I can see it. Clothes every goddamn wear, baby diapers every guy used, baby diapers every goddamn wear, and I can see it. And I'm like, first of all, and I want to tell them, but you know, you can't necessarily have to be diplomatic in a lot of cases. And I want to tell these young men, first of all, brother, you don't have any standards. If you don't have any standards, you can't provide discipline and order. Yes, you have protection. You're given the monetary means to sustain life because you're getting paid. You're making a paycheck, so you're paying the rent and you're buying the food. But what other avenues of approaches are you taking? Are you giving her any discipline? Are you giving her any standards to live by?
Yeah.
Good
Hold on a second. Let me
points.
thank you for the super chat, Rello. It's important for men to have standards and know your boundaries. Stop being mop up man. If she don't respect standards, then you remove yourself. Very clear.
That's it.
Uh,
That's it.
yep.
If
You have
she
ten
don't
dollars super
respect your
chat.
standards,
Wait, hold on a second. Let me
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
shout out another super chat and a Patreon. My mother has schizoaffective personality disorder. Probably I've heard that, and people like me can't live alone. How are you going to move out? I said bullshit. Ask a doctor, and the doctor said otherwise. That's the way it is, man. But dude, you do still care, but you also deserve your own life outside of this stuff too. You can't be sitting here putting up with all this stuff for all of life because those people got problems. You deserve a life too, man. Outside of this
You got
stuff, man, you deserve a
it.
damn life.
That's right. And in that scenario, your mother's fucked up. If you recognize that your mother's fucked up, then the best thing you can do as a son to your mother is to go and get her the professional help that you yourself are not qualified to give her. Because what will happen is if you try to qualify yourself to give her the assistance she needs in order to get better, you will end up being in the same state, in the same situation she's in because it'll drag you down. You see, if you're at a certain level and you deal with somebody that's on a lower level than you are, one or two things are going to happen. Either you're going to bring that person up to your level, or you're going to go down to their level, and vice versa. If you're dealing with a person that's at a higher level than you, be it a man or a woman, either two things are going to happen. You're either going to bring that woman down to the level of where you are, or she's going to bring you up to the level of where she is. Now, ideal in this is for you to be at a certain level to where hopefully you don't have to find someone that's so far down that you got to work and dig and drag her up to your level, because that creates problems for you. It's a load for you. And you don't want to be in the reverse side of that, because if you're dealing with a woman that's at a higher level than you are, then you're going to have all types. As a man, you're going to have some inferiority complexes or whatever. You
Mm-hmm.
know, she can manipulate the scenario to make you feel less than what you are as a man and all these. Well, you don't work, you don't pay. I pay all the bills up in here. Yo, you can keep that little fucking $800 a week that you making. I don't need that from you. That's my house. That's what happens, and that's not the natural order for a man to be
Hey
in.
man,
Period.
as soon as you start talking like that, it's time to roll out, man. There are way better options out there than listening to that shit any more than one time, man. For real.
You
You
see,
don't need to
often
be around that type of stuff.
let me throw this out here. You see, when we have these conversations and we have them in mixed company, here's what oftentimes happens. Oftentimes, what will happen is you will have personal attacks that will come out. In other words, they will say shit like, "Well, you just hate black women. You just hate women. That's your problem." No, the problem is you don't want any accountability or responsibility. That thus is the reason why you don't want the fuck shit to be called out. And you got a
Yep.
lot of men that fit that same scenario. You got a lot of brothers that they come into these spaces and they fit the same scenario. They don't want the fuck shit to be called out, because they themselves are benefiting from that. They are the type of niggas that are laying up off some woman. Some woman got the
Yep.
rent, got the apartment in her name. Some woman got the light, water, and gas in her name. Some woman got the car note and insurance and shit. You're dropping her off at work and then going to your little bullshit job. That's why you don't want this shit to be called out, because you don't want black men and black women to become enlightened to the way things are actually supposed to work as it opposes to relationships. That's the
Yep.
problem.
All right, well, hold on a second. Thank you for the $2 Cash App, Aaron Jackson. Thanks for the $15 Patreon, Goshen. Thanks for the $15 Patreon, Devin Winburn. But go ahead. Go ahead, General. You still there? You drop off?
No, give me a
All right. Yeah, it's just that within these situations, man, we gotta give black men the strength to move beyond this type of shit. This is not your responsibility. And my grandfather told me that this shit wasn't my responsibility. Like I have like a lot of aunts and uncles, and he told me straight up, some of this stuff you're gonna see within your life is not your responsibility. If you did everything right for your actual self, you should not have to be worrying about these grown ass people. You have one life and you have to learn how to live it. And you cannot be wasting your time on these people. It's better to go to one funeral than 1,000 wakes. Don't get yourself caught up in trying to help people who don't want to be helped. And that was his message on that. He really did not care about all this type of stuff that people put themselves through. He didn't really care about that because everybody got the same chance at the same upbringing. It took to some people, it didn't take to others. Other people had to go to jail and prison to figure out stuff. But for you and your life, this is not your responsibility to keep going through this stuff, man. You got to learn the lesson and keep it moving. You cannot sit here and repeat this stuff over and over again.
Agree. Because at the end of the day, you are responsible for your actions as well as the choices that you make in life. And even if, a big if, you want to help out someone who is really in need, you need to make sure that your house, metaphorically speaking, is in order first. Once you do that, then the choice to keep on moving and progressing. And then you also have the option, even if it's just for that one moment, to, hey, here you go. The rest is up to you.
That's how it should work, man. And this should be the culture that we're actually born and birthed with, not everything else that kind of comes with the actual space, because that stuff really isn't right or fair for their development.
Really
Yeah,
isn't.
facts, man. Man, we look, man. It's to me, this is always so simple. I mean, we know the culture and the legal system is illogical, and I think that women, they just are socially engineered to function in dysfunction, to the point that when men actually have their mind corrected and start thinking straight, they become the enemy of women instead of women actually seeing that, you know, they have been socially engineered to be backwards. They that false sense of power that they think they have, that society is about to take from them. A lot of women gonna
Yeah,
realize that their jobs are they were mere illusions just to put men in, try to affect men. But now that we're in this financial situation, that carpet is about to be pulled from under a lot of women who had these
yeah.
jobs that didn't have no real purpose.
I'm, I'm telling you, man. Like a lot of these state jobs are about to leave
Yep.
in large numbers. Let me get to this $10 cash app. Yeah, my bitter. I don't need a man. Auntie says you're gonna leave your mama alone, your only child. Just laugh. You're correct. Number three, go your own way. Don't become average. Another crab in the bucket. Yeah, it's like, dude, look. Other people of other cultures, they don't walk around with this sort of cultural baggage on them like we're forced to, like we are within this environment. They don't walk around with that. They know that the people are here. It's a very low percentage situation that they get out of the circumstances that they're in order so that way they can be able to have a better chance at a better life. Here, we already born with the chance. But it's
Yeah.
like you've been so socialized into not taking advantage of the things that you actually could be in society. It's just crazy, man. It's
Yeah.
just crazy, and it's not worthwhile, and it's not worth it.
And that's why I don't understand why. Well, I understand why women argue about men having better choices, because they like this situation where they can be unaccountable and irresponsible and still and throw their life away and still feel like they're qualified to have the best choice of men. That the feeling, but the best choice of men are now, we're realizing our true value, and we're basically we out qualify these women now. We've always have. Society has tried to, indoctrinate us to think that we should be competing for these low quality women. But now that we're basically awakening men to their value, who actually have productivity and have true masculinity, which is defined through their productivity, we're just outgrown this whole situation. We just don't want to look back.
Yeah, and it's
But
not like it's our actual job to look back. Like we have to look forward, we have to move forward, and the people who's always been there for us will move with us. And you have to stop thinking that you're going to take everybody with you. Your job is for one person to move forward with, as long as they have the premier things that they need to bring to the actual table to move forward with you, because you're not like, I think BGS made a show about this, and I also think Angry Man did a show about this. It's not your job to raise grown ass women, dude. I'm sorry.
it's not. It's not your job. See, here it is. In the black culture, black society, women always want to say, "Well, what are you collectively? What are black men building and doing collectively?" Okay, are you sure you want to be under that type of rule? Because I will tell you that being in other countries, especially in the Middle Eastern blocks, when you go to the UAE, women don't have no rights over that motherfucker. You do what the fuck you're told, or else you get smacked in your fucking mouth when you get mouthy. You understand? Because those men have built everything, those
Yep.
men run everything, and the women are subservient to that. So they don't get to drive. See, if we did what those men are doing, if we enacted that type of attitude here in this country, and black men got together and said, okay, we're going to build our own cities, we're going to build our own infrastructure. And we did that, right? Instead of trying to be in the mainstream of the American society. If we separated and built our own cities and our own jobs and all of that shit. And then women that came into that space would be subservient to the rule of that exists. So then we could effectively create a scenario where whatever the fuck we say goes.
Yeah,
Women
but
in
they
those
want
countries
us to
don't
build
say,
it first, and
right,
then
I
they'll
get it.
come. Like,
I get
nah.
it. And I'm telling you, even if we build it first and then they won't come after that, because then what'll happen is they'll have to go into a subservient role. The average
There it
American
is.
westernized woman that does not want to be in a subservient role. I've
And
seen
that's
I've seen how I've been to Dubai, I've been to the UAE, I've been to all of these different Middle Eastern countries, and I've seen and lived there, and I've interacted and been in the main frame of their societies, and I see how they get down. Women in those
it,
countries don't even look. They won't even look at another man's direction, because they know the man that they with, as soon as he picks up and has an idea that they're looking at another man, they get their fucking eyeballs damn near slapped out of their head. Black women ain't gonna go for that shit.
but not just that.
Yeah,
Here's the part that gets me the
Watch the
most.
chat if you think I'm lying. Look at your chat if you think I'm
Here,
lying.
here's the part that
yeah,
gets me the most.
that's the thing, man.
These women, we're not even rejecting them. They're excluding themselves. Women could raise their own standards as women. They could improve. They could actually want to be feminine women and bring feminine cooperation to a situation. They just refuse to be feminine. They're refusing their role. It's open to them. They're just rejecting it. And that's what they
That's
want. It's like, what
facts.
they saying, we don't want them. No, y'all don't want to be women.
No,
That's your choice.
they want to be forced into it. See, to whom much is given, much is required. They forgot that age-old additive of to whom
Yeah.
much is given, much is required. So if I'm a six-figure brother, the 6 foot 666 is what I call them. 6 figure, 6 foot tall, six-pack abs, the S600 Benz. If I'm that brother that got in the 6,000 square foot home, if I'm that brother
Jesus.
that have the ability to I have all of that, right? The minute I bring you into that bubble, you gonna shut the fuck up and do what the fuck I tell you to do. That's just nature. That's how it works. You don't get to come in my house and tell me what the fuck you are and are not going to do. And the minute you say that, you know what said? I'm a grown ass woman. I've been raised. I don't need no daddy to tell me nothing. You're absolutely right. You're right. But you're not gonna go out here and be up in the club with your girlfriend popping bottles, not and be my representative, not and be my woman or my wife. You're not gonna go out here, be up in the club with your ass all hiked in the air, skirt so tight you can't even sit down, titties popping out the goddamn top. That's not who I want to represent me. I have standards. So if I'm providing for you, you have a responsibility to represent me the way I choose to be represented. Do you think Barack Obama would have ever married a bitch like let's just keep it real. Do you think Barack Obama would have ever married a bitch like what's the chick name? Coronavirus? What's her name?
Oh, Cardi
Uh,
B.
Cardi.
Oh God, no.
Could you picture? Listen, this is what chicks that fit that mold, this is what they want. The Cardi B's, they want the Barack Obama with the street swag of the nigga that she's married to. What's the little rapper name?
Migo or something. I forget.
That nigga from the Migo. That's
Yeah,
what
it
they
was
want.
Offset.
Yep.
Yeah.
Offset. They want the Barack Obama who has the street swag of an Offset. Bitch, you don't get it like that because Barack Obama ain't gonna carry himself in that manner. You don't get to goddamn create. You want to create something that's just not there. Those are outliers. Do you
Yeah,
think Barack Obama would have fucked around and been going through Harvard Law School and all this bullshit and having a goal to be in politics? I'm just using him as an example. Now, whether you like him or not is irrelevant. Do you think a brother like Barack Obama would go to the hood, to the strip club, and pick a bitch like a Cardi B with a pussy out on stage, ass out on stage, and try to make her a wife?
I don't think
Just
so.
answer that question.
No,
Nah.
I mean I
Nah,
wouldn't. I mean,
no,
like
Nah,
any
man.
rational human being would.
unless
But let
Could
me
you
get
you
to
have
this.
to
could
be
you picture?
re-educated.
Could
Very.
you
Let me get
picture?
to this super
Okay.
chat real quick. Zo McTow, thanks for the $10 super chat. MOT, how can I get in contact you about the CDL? Yeah, I put my email in the actual chat. If y'all want to talk about the CDL, should just give me a call so that way I can be able to coach you through the actual process. It don't cost anything. I more want you to get in the actual process of doing it rather than me having to charge to actually do it. I'd rather you actually what the hell he just left. But I'd rather y'all support the Patreon and super chat rather than having to pay some monthly fee or some stupid shit for that. I mean, because it's real easy. I've coached about 50 people through it throughout like maybe December to now, and it's real easy to do. All you have to do is show up. But it's a lot of rigmarole that you can go through if you're not used to being in a regimented environment like that. It can be very stressful for you. So I just would like to get you into the process and to give me a call if you have any problems, so that way I can keep you on track. But
Yeah,
thanks so much. Go ahead, man.
I just
Could
hit you on
you
the
Keep that in
Patreon
mind.
emoji.
Yeah.
could you picture Cardi B as your first woman, as your first lady in the White House?
Oh
No.
no.
Okay, could you picture? Wait, whoa. Do you think Michelle Obama would go out here and choose an offset to procreate with, or Future? Could you see Future in the White House as the president? Could you see a bitch like? And that's what we have. We have a lot of Michelle Obama Juniors out here with futures. That's what we got. That's what we got.
In regards to that question, that is debatable, especially when you apply the dysfunction and support being promoted already and from way back then, although it was slow. But in a nutshell, probably not, though my answer is subject to change.
What's up, y'all? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
man, what's going
I
on?
can hear you
I
now.
can hear you.
Hey, what's up? What's up, brothers? What's up, brothers?
Hey, go. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? Just returning from the crib, grabbing some stuff. Thank you, man. Tomorrow, I want to thank you for putting up the stream. I had a lot of thoughts on my mind thinking about this type of stuff and proceeding. Because I'm also a married dude, but I'm dealing with some problems in my marriage, and they've been long seated. But I've always gravitated to these spaces because I always like to be the dumbest person in the room and learn. Like, just because I'm a married man, I'm not going to act like single dudes don't know what's happening, or like especially being a black man, my situation is the norm. So I want to see if I'm doing everything I need to do right. What can I be hurt with in the future? Is my wife acclimating right? And due to my basically concentration to these spaces, a lot of things that I have been cultured to take that I shouldn't, and those have.
Yeah.
And me taking those things have kind of put me in positions where I've had like sprints of depression that I didn't know about. Like, I'm not an alcoholic, but I've had periods where I've drunk alcohol I don't even like alcohol. I had periods where I drunk it for no reason. And well, it wasn't for no reason, but when I found out or later recollected it was the reason, it was because I was going through depression because I was like somewhat kowtowing to my wife or accepting some things that were underneath me. And it's kind of hard when you got like kids and whatnot, and you're trying to teach them. But like this is the black pill period when you have two daughters and you have to correct them on what they're doing wrong, and then the mom could just come in and then try to supersede what you're doing, and then you argue with her, and then basically her word goes last, because if it doesn't, it's gonna get physical, and if it gets physical, you're going to jail. So who really?
Yeah.
Okay. So from experience, this is general speaking. From experience, I would tell you this:
What's up, man? What's
up, brother? It is not going to be something that you can snap your fingers and fix overnight. I don't know how long have you and your lady been married?
We've been married since 2012.
Okay, so you got some time invested in this. You got 8 years invested in this thing, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Undoubtedly, you love your wife. That's the reason why you're calling, putting your business out here like that. So I would say that you love your wife. I will tell you that situation, from experience, is not going to be fixed overnight. The silent strong move is going to be best in that scenario. You're going to have to ebb and nudge the balance of power back to your side by taking a strong silent approach. Okay, because if you go in there and you say, okay, today this stops. Today, you ain't gonna do this shit no more. This is the end of it today. I'm not putting up with it no more. Yeah, it's gonna get physical because she's already in an environment to where she has the balance of power swung in her direction. Because you already say, the kids come in and say, Daddy, can I go here? You say no, they run to mommy, and mommy says yes, and that's the end of it. Because as soon as you say, well, I said they can't go, now you got to deal with that wrath, right? So you're going to have to take the strong and solid approach. I would tell you the first thing you got to do is you got to sit down with her, and you got to have a strong conversation with her and say, hey, look, I've been dealing with some things in the course of this relationship. Based upon how it's going, I find myself not being happy here any longer. And that's basically what it is, because you're dealing, unhappiness brings about depression. Now, I'm no psychologist. I'm just telling it to you. I'm just giving it to you from an experience point of view, okay? So the strong silent approach is going to be best. You're simply going to have to start putting your foot down and keeping your foot down and holding up and bringing up the ebb of power back to your side. And ultimately, brother, you may be in a situation after 8 years, if she's had the upper hand or she's had the majority of the say, where she gets to rule the roost. Ultimately, it may come to the breakdown of the relationship. I'm sorry, but I just got to be honest with you, because I don't know how old are you, and how old is your wife?
I'm 32 and she is 32.
Oh yeah, well,
Okay.
I'm just gonna tell you. Ultimately, as soon as you start saying, "Hey, I'm unhappy and it's causing me to be depressed, and I need to be healthy, and I want a healthy relationship with you," but because you're going against your nature. This is what's causing you to be depressed. You're going against your nature.
Right. The thing is,
Now, I'm not going to tell you to leave your wife. I ain't going to tell you to leave her. I'm going to tell you the best thing. I'm just going to tell you what's best. You have to be the strong, silent type. Put your foot down. Hold your ground. Explain to her. Talk to her. Tell her, hey, things have got to change. And this is where things are going to start to change. Especially if you're in that position to where you are bringing 80% of the life-sustaining resources into the home.
General, I agree with you. I agree with you a lot with that. But I think I'm kind of too far gone for that, because we basically been at the point where basically I've been around this sector too long, and I talk to other married men, other divorced men, and it seems like basically I'm on a time clock right now. Either I'm going to divorce her in the next 3 years, or I'm going to divorce her in the next 20 years. It's my choice, because basically I've grown to see that basically this is an experience for her. Like I always wanted to have a family, and I always had the want to have a family and be married, because my dad wasn't around. So,
but let me help you out. Let me help you out real quick. I get you. I get all of that. I understand. I understand all. I know. I've heard every feasible story imaginable. Let me tell you what's going to happen. You're saying either you're going to divorce her within the next 3 years or the next 20 years. In her mind is, I'm going to divorce him in the next 15 months or the next 5 years. See, she's working on a different time clock than you are, brother. So you have to make a conscious decision for what's best for you as far as male agency. What direction do you want to go in? Are you the man in the relationship? Are you the ruler of the roost? Do you provide the protection? Do you provide the provisions? Do you provide all of the things to sustain life? It's the 80-20 rule. Are you providing 80% of the life-sustaining avenues, or is it 50-50? Now, if you're in a 50-50 scenario, that may be where your problem lies, because she feels as though she's equal to you.
Yeah, that's a bad deal.
I mean,
right.
you should get some legal counsel.
Hold on, let me shout out this to our super chat from Dollar Watcher. If black people would have created our own language when we got here as slaves, we would have been able to create culture, and eventually patriarchy. We would have enabled us to compete and dominate. I mean, you could have did all that. I mean, we could have did all that with speaking the English language. I mean, the problem was, our Dollar Watcher, is that we didn't have a cooperative mate on the other side that actually wanted the same things that free black men wanted. And that's the reason why we're in the position that we're in. So the whole thing about male agency is about putting yourself first and not giving a shit about what the other side wants. Because when you move, it's either she gonna move with you or she's not. So that's what the movement is about, is putting your own focus on the things that you need to do in life and not really worried about communities and all this other external shit that they're trying to get you to focus on because those things are not your responsibility. You're
Yeah,
only to
well,
be responsible in creating one household, not multiples for the actual community.
yeah, what women don't realize is that ethnic group is only as strong as their men. Women believe a lie that somehow they can be empowered women without the support of their men. That's what they think because society gives them these loopholes. But the reason why the black community is in the position it is because women are sabotaging through the matriarchy, through bad choices of how they were bringing up these children. Men are not growing up with strong fathers to awaken them to the society and to build their productivity, to develop them to deal with the world that we have. And so a group is only as strong as their men, and women are rejecting that notion.
Yeah, because they've been infused with this ideology of we're equal to, and in
Yep.
some cases greater than.
Is he bored than anybody else?
This is where the feminism shit comes. I would. What was that?
You
No,
break it up a
go
little
ahead,
bit.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and let me say this, man. A lot of people that hear me speak on these panels, they would say, "Well, he can't sustain a relationship." No, it's not that I can't sustain a relationship. It's that I couldn't sustain a relationship with that caliber, with those caliber of women. I'm in a
Yeah,
relationship
you
right
should.
now,
Right.
and it's
So
faring
Spiritual Hawk,
out
what's up, man?
quite well. So when people do that, it's a way to silence you. You have to understand the tactics that are used. Women understand that they have to be able to use their minds and they have to manipulate you with their vocabularies because they're the weaker sex. They understand that. They have to use persuasiveness to persuade you to doing what they want you to do. Case in point, you will be at home with your woman. You say, you know what, today I think I'm gonna paint the garage. I think the inside of the garage needs painting. And she'll say, well, why are we worried about the garage? We need to paint the living room. And you're saying, well, I figured that I start out in the garage first because it's the worst. Because we look at things logically. It's worse. The garage is all patchy. We've had to patch some holes. Remember you ran into the wall of the garage with the truck when you was trying to get out of the rain? Remember that? We got that big hole out there that I had to patch up. The living room is sustainable, but we need to do the garage first. They'll argue you down because they want the living room painted first because they're more worried about how things are presented to their friends, how things look to outsiders instead of worrying about what you have, what the two of you have going on inside of the house. Do you get what I'm saying? That's just an example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that
Yeah, we get you.
most of these things that happen within this environment just don't need to be. I mean, like most of this stuff is based on the fact that they just want to be able to assert their power just for doing so. Like they don't assert their power for actual things that would actually help the family. They do it to break the family up or actually to let you know that you're getting too big for your britches, and we just can't have it, man.
I mean, you could
Well,
tell the biggest
they think emotionally and we think logically.
yeah, the biggest
That's what that
example of
is.
that.
I just gave you an example. I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
Now I was gonna say, is how women now in this culture, they're trying to get resource separate the man from the resources. Women don't realize that you benefit in the presence of a man, not to acquire his resources and separate from the man. But see, that's what women are trying to do. They're trying to get with men to extract resources to build themselves instead of actually benefiting from good, but with good behavior and femininity in the presence of a man. I tell women, I tell a lot of people, I don't really necessarily do the whole dating thing because when first of all, a man who is qualified, I have all my ducks out. You can have your home, your career, and all that stuff together. And so if a woman wants to be on my program, she comes in my presence, and then she benefits. I don't have to give her money outside of me because then I'm enabling her to go out and get and use what I give her to build herself outside of me. And see, women don't want to do that. That's why I would never do 50-50. This personally on me. I think a man should have his own house. So a
Oh my
woman
god,
can,
Yeah, of
50-50
course.
sounds bad. Oh my god, 50-50
I
sounds
know
bad.
ain't no 50. See, here's what it is, right? And I use that as an example because I had that actually happen, right? Have you ever been out on a double date with your woman and one of her friends, she'll say, hey, Karen got a new boyfriend and they want us to, I think we should go out, so that I can meet her new man, not so we can meet. Now, Karen is her friend, so obviously that means that you and Karen have interacted over the years, right? Because y'all married. And Karen is her single friend. So she will say to you, hey, this Friday night, Karen, she got a new man. And I think we should go out to dinner with Karen so that I could meet him. Not so that we could meet him, so that I could meet him, right? So then when you get there, here's what happened. The dude is on his best behavior. The dude comes in, he helps her with her coat. He pulls the chair out for her. He's opening doors. He's acquiescing the menu to her, because that's what happens. He's acquiescing everything to her. And she's looking upside your head all of a sudden now, like, you didn't pull my chair out for me when we came here. Exactly. Bitch, we've been together for motherfucking 4 years. You knew what it was then. You know what it is now. Don't start acting brand new. You didn't help me with my, must be nice. And he'll say, the other guy, Karen's boyfriend, new man, will say, well, go ahead, order whatever you want. Then you get the little bullshit. I remember when we first went out, you didn't, that's not how you treated me. And you like, bitch, look, what the fuck do you mean? I'm not that nigga. I'm not him.
That's crazy.
He has to do all of that shit.
Yeah, because he in a 50-50.
Yeah, because he's trying to get to where I am. So he has to do all of that shit to drag her in. Here's the thing. Whatever you start out doing in a relationship is what you must continue to do. Right? Whatever you start out doing in a relationship, that's what you must when you start out in your relationship and you go by your woman's job and you leave her a single rose with a little chocolate drop on the driver's side of her car, a little envelope with a card in it that says I love you, and you do that every Friday during the dating process. Well, when you get married, that doesn't stop. If she comes in and gets naked and dances and gives you a booty dance every fucking night throughout the week, now all of a sudden you're married and you like, what happened to the booty dances? You coming in here with a headscarf on, you got a pair of my sweats on. You used to come to bed when we first got together and you had on all this little cute dainty shit. Now all of a sudden, because we're married, no, we're not gonna do that. No, it doesn't change up that drastically. Nah,
But you see, women in this
some strong love.
Yeah, women in this culture see
marriage
they see marriage as a war, and that's them winning the war because they really want leverage and they want control. They're not using marriage as to be under a man. They say, "Oh, finally, I got the legal leverage to manipulate this dude." So you gotta be careful about what situation you get in and what women you choosing.
Right. I like to bring things back to
that's why shit. That's why shit changes that's why shit changes. The moment you purchase that ring and put it on her finger and you stand in front of them people and they say you are now pronounced, shit changes. And it's up to you to not allow that to happen.
Exactly.
Well, the thing is, I like to bring things back to like, oh, you hear me?
Yeah, my bad, man. Go ahead.
You good, Spiritual. By the way, Spiritual, what's up, man? Aaron too, what's up, man? I like to bring things back to myself because there's a lot of things that I didn't see when I got with my wife because I guess my dad wasn't around, but I can't blame him. For the simple, I'll say something like this. When I first met my wife, it was in the library in college, and she had a child already, and we developed a relationship on and off. I fell in love with her. We ended up moving in together. She's a good woman. She ended up going to law school. We've been together this whole time period. But the part that I didn't take in consideration was how was she raised, because she had a really good, she had a really, really good grandmother, and that's the reason why she got into the college that we was into, and ended up graduating, because the rest of her family, which was her mom's side, was a whole bunch of venomous ass women, but she grew up around them mostly. Her dad wasn't really around in her life, like her grandma's dad that got her in college. He wasn't around, and I took it into my own mind, like, oh, she's just like her grandma, because me and the grandma got along well as shit. But the rest of the venomous women that she grew up around with was just pretty lazy bitches. That's all they was pretty lazy bitches
God.
that basically had kids, got married, got divorced, rarely dated dudes, rarely worked out. They wasn't super fat, but they was like that. They were like basically high sevens, but they was lazy they was like lazy bitches. I basically got things because they was like super high yellow Puerto Rican, and I didn't take that into account. So when I married my wife, it was a lot of things that carried over because I remember MOT had a video where he said, the nicest snake is still a snake because
Yep.
all it's going to take for her to get angry again and she's going to revert back to what she is, and your ass going to get bit and you're going to feel sorry. So I didn't realize I was basically dipping into a relationship with an alpha female, even though all the shit was staring me in my face because I wanted to be married so bad. I wanted to be in love and find this unicorn or whatnot. And I still love her to this day. And I mean, she's my wife. I was going to love her. I mean, she has my children, but I've learned to separate love and what I really need. And even like when we have our hardest breakups, it's a weird feeling because I'm not like super stressed because I feel kind of relieved. I'm like, we don't really need to be together. Like I love you, but I feel happier when I'm not with you. You know?
Yeah. Let me tell you something, bro. You know what made me realize that American marriage, state marriage, is a sham, is the fact that when you hear women talk about marriage and they expect that the ring should be a percentage of a man's income, and the first thing that they ask is say, did he get on his knees? See, they're telling you what they're expecting. I ain't never getting on my knees for no woman. No respect for the men who've been indoctrinated. I get y'all think it's tradition. I would never get on my knees for no damn woman ever. And I damn well ain't gonna give her something that's a percentage of my income if she's supposed to be coming to be useful in my life.
Correct. Like I never understood how that worked. And you hear some of the most ungrateful people have the biggest stories about this grandiose stuff about what they're worth. It's crazy, man.
Yeah,
Crazy.
it's a ring. It's like it's almost like you putting that ring. The more valuable the ring you give her, the more the better the submissiveness she's expecting from you.
Yeah,
And
that's
I'm
not.
not look, I'm just saying the whole thing is backwards. Like a lot of people do a lot of things and they don't question where did men getting on one knee come from? Why is that a requirement for you as a dominant masculine man to bring a woman in your life? Who the hell made that a requirement? That never added up to me.
It it don't. Well, hold on a second. Let me get to this super chat. Young G Bone said, might have to travel to Dubai and give me a Arabian Melissa bin Laden with a hijab. Yeah, you got to get women who are cultured not to be taking advantage of all the stuff around them, man. Like most of the people who claim that they're doing well in this environment, they're not. They're actually higher on the whole
Yup.
totem pole and closer to the disrespect than we all are, which is why they want us climbing this pole of disrespect to take over like the like the myth of Atlas, holding around the whole world on his shoulders. It's ridiculous. Male
So yo,
agency means you don't have to give a damn about
Messed
this. But
up.
go ahead.
yeah, I got cheat codes for that, MOT. Like, cause I know married dudes just like me that I can't hang around because they're cucked out. Where basically they act like they don't see the things that I used to not see, even when I bring it up to them. And then when I try to talk to them logically about like how with the things they accept from their wife, they kind of like they turn their head, the body language shows. But I got some real cheat codes for that. A guy that basically is for state-sanctioned marriage and gets mad when you say it's stupid to get state-sanctionally married, it's an easy way to see if he's lying about his marriage. All you got to do is
Yeah.
listen to the way he's undetailed in how to get a submissive woman and how to vet her. He'll use big
Correct.
words. Like vetting, waiting your time, and those aren't bad words. But the problem is that they won't go into detail how to do it. They'll give you explanations like everybody's recipe is different.
Or you got to handle a strong woman. You got to handle her. You got to handle her.
You gotta handle a strong woman.
But it's not meant to be specific for an entire reason. So that way their track record can't be tracked. You have to understand that. It's meant to be deliberately not specific for
Yeah,
a very specific reason. Like
And
those people don't really care about results. They care about you going through a low percentage position, and when you
mm-hmm.
fail, they still want to blame you for even trying. So
You
that's the
notice?
type of thing that they do with black men. I don't like when people do that, but that's the way I see it.
Do you notice if you go to them with an argument or complaint, they say, "Well, just go buy her something." That they'll say dumb stuff
What?
like that. Go.
that's
She's
That
pissing
silly.
you off. She's uncooperative in your house, and they're suggesting that you reward her.
All you're doing is
Go
buying
buy her some
time.
flowers.
That's all you're doing is buying.
Go
You
ahead.
buying a couple hours on the clock for her to start the next argument. To basically bring up the next type of bullshit that you're gonna basically ignore until you fucking explode. That's why if you notice, a lot of married dudes drink a lot, smoke a lot.
Mm.
They not big on like finding things that basically self improve them without like self improve that doesn't cause them like destruction. They basically they cope in different type of ways, and I really think it's effeminate for men to come to these spaces and try to push stake station marriage, but then not give brothers the keys on how to make it work. Because
Or
the thing is,
Correct.
all they do is
deny the consequences, or deny the obvious consequences of getting in
right,
a state
right.
sanctioned
Because
marriage.
they basically trolling, and they're like, I
They
give
are.
you
They
trolling
are.
on some, yeah, I give you trolling on some funny shit, like, but on some real that's really disrespectful. It's really effeminate because if you know, this is like the only place where black men can come and get ideas about how to live a better life, and you come and they talking about not getting destroyed by financially, mentally, through basically this system that's trying to destroy us, and you come through talking about your miracle situation works, but you ain't giving up no clues. It's so why are you here then?
Hey, Agon,
Like
let
you
me
just
ask
want
you a question. Let me ask you a question real quick. It sounds like your eyes have been open and you can't unsee what you see in your wife now. Is that correct?
to agree.
It's
I can't.
like,
Every time I tried to slip back into it, I can't do it. Like like it was like 2017. I was working down at Thomas Jefferson here in Philly, and I was heavily overweight. I was angry at how my life was going, but I was happy I had an IT job. I said, how can I make this better? I started walking home from 8th and Market to basically 46 and Market to catch the train. So basically, that's all those block radiuses going straight there. And I lost a little bunch of weight. But while doing that, I was listening to a whole bunch of YouTube videos, and I transformed the way I thought. And a lot of things that's kind of where I learned how to walk away. Whenever I didn't like something my wife did, walked away and did something productive. She talked about this, walked away, did something else. And then through that time period, I kind of slipped out of like a mind control state where basically I can't go back to the bullshit. I can't
the
have an
matriarchal
argument
matrix.
and then go out to eat. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't know
See,
that we're not on
Barbie,
good
Mr.
standing.
Infinity.
what happens is you broke out that matriarchal matrix where she was only comfortable with you in a weak position.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Mr.
Like
Infinity,
what's up, man?
I would like to add my 2 cents to this because I may have misheard one thing you said earlier, but the one thing I can tell you, as well as from those who are awakening to this shit, there is no such thing as an alpha female, because by that definition, she will be expressing the opposite traits that make a good woman in the first place in terms of submissiveness. So to say there is an alpha female is a huge reach. Telling
Well,
you this from personal experience. The
well, when
second of which is
you say
continue.
real quick, I'm gonna let you go, brother. But when you say alpha female, you have to understand with the perspective of you're talking about alpha female as far as it pertains to the female species. So you have now. I'm gonna let you finish, but go ahead.
The
I didn't
second
want
of
to step
which
on you.
is when you met your wife, you said that she already had a kid or she
Yes,
had no
sir.
kids.
She had a kid. She had a child, a 2-year-old.
Oh.
Yeah.
But see, that's what the matriarchy trains you to do. It trains you to go find a woman who is in a situation of desperation, and these women give you this fake femininity to lure you in. Fake
I didn't know
femininity. I was gonna say fake
I didn't.
femininity is
Hold on a second,
always
You
guys.
good?
Go ahead, Hope.
Sorry.
No,
Oh,
go
my
ahead.
bad, man. I was gonna say fake femininity. If you notice with these women with fake femininity, is more about what they put on, not what they bring out of them. Because think about it. You said that she came from a line of women that were pretty much pretty girls, probably shapely, pretty girls who were probably developed fast. They developed early, so they look good, but they did it with little effort. And then
Agreed.
so they kind of got arrogant and they got big headed because it was just really their genetics. They didn't actually have to have, in the scent world we live in, women like that, they don't have to be feminine to men because men are weak enough that they're catered to these women just off their appearance. And so these women never really develop femininity from within. And see, that's why a lot of these women, they act the way they do. That's why OnlyFans is popping and all these other things, because we have a weak culture from a lot of men just being raised around a tyrant of a mother, that says, it's all about me. It's all about my happiness. And so men are sacrificing their productivity basically to basically satisfy their moms because their moms didn't choose good husbands. It's like a vicious cycle, and like, man, when you snap out of it and you look at these women now, it's like you're increasing your value right now. You say you lost weight, you're getting your thoughts focused on self-improvement, all the right things. And see, a woman who is programmed from the matriarchal matrix, she hates that, man. That's worse than cursing her out. See, they used to you cursing her out, but don't self-improve. Don't act like you can live without her. That's going to offend that kind of woman. They love being able to put their heel on your neck. And that's why guys got to wake up. And when you see a woman who's already been ran through by dudes and she's not in a totally submissive, like, damn, I should be lucky to get this man with my condition, with my kid, with these other kids I'm bringing to this man. I should pretty much welcome being his slave, because this man has more value than me because he still has a productive life ahead of him. But women don't see it like that when they bring kids to a man with no kids. They don't
No, they
see it
don't
as
care
that,
about
like,
that.
damn, I should go above and beyond to prove that I'm willing to I need to do as much as I can for this overqualified man in my eyes. But they don't see it like that. They think they're worthy. If they these women think they can bring 6 kids and still be lazy.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
It's rough, right? I mean, like,
I
especially
agree
the general being a
100%.
MOT, and the general being the older guys on the panel. They know this, man. They know what they're telling you is true. These women are really, they just prototypes of the same type of women. That's why in some circumstances it's good to just listen to the experiences of older men. Now that doesn't mean that all older men have good advice, but when you find one that does, definitely listen to that experience when they're talking about women. And because that might be as close to a father as some of these guys will ever get. That's why when they
Yeah,
come to content like this, it's such an awakening thing, because this is for the first time they're hearing the masculinity that was absent in their adolescence and in their childhood. And it's like, wow, I was programmed by this freaking matrix. Being surrounded by a whole bunch of women, I made my life about women, and I never really thought about maximizing my potential as a man and building my masculinity to demand, to raise my standards, to actually attract a woman who actually wants to bring value to my life. That's a
and
new
that's the way
concept.
it is on
Yeah,
purpose. Like it's like that on purpose because a lot of people don't want you really raising your standards or anything else because they don't want you raising yourself above what the actual environment wants you to actually produce. And that's kind of what everybody's been socialized into actually thinking and actually being, unfortunately, is cucks by design. Like like they never wanted you to engage in any type of male agency because male agency would threaten their position among the people there. And that's why they looked at it like that.
Of course. The status quo has reigned supreme within our community for eons now. And now that you have a different demographics of younger men, modern men who look at things from a different perspective, who says, wait a minute, I'm tired of being unhappy. I'm tired of being a cuck. I'm tired of being the one who gets into the argument and I have to go get the flowers even when I against me knowing that I'm right. I'm tired of doing that. Why do I always have to be the one to get down and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got to go buy a tennis bracelet now because of some bullshit that you did"? And when you were wrong and I was right, and I knew I was right, but yet and still, I cucked myself into going out and buying you the gift, gifting you for your fuckery. And that's what a lot of people in these spaces do not want. Guys like myself, MOT, and some of the other brothers to come out and say, even Obsidian, they don't want to hear the real life truth. They only hear, they only want to hear what's been the status quo.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
problem.
but here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. There's no man who's ever won through immediate compromise with a woman. No
No,
man
that's
in
facts.
history, on record, who has ever won immediately compromising with a woman. It doesn't matter whether it was for sex, whether it was for the moment she sees that you're going to sell out for basic access, she got you. And she's never going
That's
to
the
let go. And you're done forever. You're done. You're done. You're
and
done.
and and that's
You're
and
done
that's
forever.
kind of like what I was saying, MOT. What happens is, let's say you go out. You tell your woman, "Hey, I'll be back home at 2 o'clock." Let's say that you are an individual, you're a man, you get to, make decisions for yourself as an individual man, right? So you end up being out to 2:33. You go home. She acts a fucking fool. There's an argument which ensues. And you say, "Okay, I told you I was gonna come home at 2. I know I stayed out an hour and a half later. I didn't get home to 3:30 in the morning. I was wrong. I apologize." It's never good enough for them. You
Yeah.
end up ultimately having to do the dinner, and you got, "Well, you're gonna make this up to me. You're gonna be sleeping on the couch and all this old bullshit," right? Okay,
Right.
I admitted to you that I was wrong. I said that I would try and not let it happen again. But let's look at things from the flip side now. Let's say she's out with her girlfriends. She tells you, "I'll be home at 2." You're like, "Okay, girls' night out, no big deal. You go out, you have your drinks, you're doing your thing with your girls. I ain't tripping. I ain't got no issue with that." Let's say she don't get home to the same time, right? She'll argue you down. Even if
Right.
I
even
mean,
whether it was
even if
you
you,
who did it,
I mean, that is,
rather
but Judge, I
but let
mean,
me
Jimmy,
finish.
that depends on.
Let let me finish. Whether if it was you who did it first or her who did it first, she will argue you down. And here's how she'll do it. She'll say, "I don't need a daddy. I already been raised. I told you what it was, and that's that. That's all I'm gonna say about it." And you have to accept it. You 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 have to just say, "Okay." There's no putting her on the couch. There is no telling her you got me fucked up. None of that shit. Because if you do, you're looked at as being what they call pseudo masculinity. What's the word they use now?
Man, they got so
What do they
many.
call it? What do they call it?
Oh man, it's too
You
Uh,
many
Was
now.
it toxic masculinity or something
yeah,
else?
you're looked at as being a toxic masculinity.
misogynist or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. All
misogynist
that
man.
stuff. Which is a
Well,
feminist term, by the way, because honestly, that's
exactly.
the nature of a man to control his life and his surroundings. And feminine, wiser women understand that. They prefer a man who has wisdom and productivity to be in control because he's not easily swayed by emotions and all the things that get people in these bad situations. See, wise women welcome the rulership and authority of the right man. But women won't ever choose the right man. That's why they complain about men because they refuse to choose the right one, what that requires submission and where submission actually benefits the women. See, when women choose better, submission benefits them because that man is in control. But if they choose a
See,
fool to run your life, then of course your life is going to be terrible. Because if you lose your job, he don't got one, then both of y'all are screwed. Now you're a hoe, prostitute.
Yeah, it's
Like,
just that. It's just that just we just have to be a hell of a lot more principled in how we move forward. And so that way this could be normal amongst people who actually want to do these things and be successful with it. Because there's a lot of people who just want to compromise their way to the top and it never worked. I mean, because if it had worked, we would have seen the results of compromise actually working. And most of the people who think they got this stuff figured out, they actually don't. They have it less figured out than anybody else in society. but they want to make it look like they actually are the people here.
MOT.
Yeah, yeah.
Compromising does work as long as it's in the advantage for the woman. That's when you know compromising works. As
Yeah,
long that is the status quo that I was talking about. As long as that status quo is being maintained, oh, I was wrong, man. I went out and I got fucked up and I was late getting in. I didn't get home to 5 o'clock in the morning. You got a lot of homeboys that'll tell you that. Oh man, I know she about to be mad than a motherfucker. I should have been home 2 hours ago. You roll in at 5. You got to go get the goddamn tennis. You got to go spend 5K, tennis bracelets, red bottoms, all kind of shit to make amends. If she does the same thing, it's I can do what I want to do. Shut the fuck up. You don't tell me where to go and when to come. I'm a grown ass woman. That's what they want. And if you
But the
allow
funny
that,
thing is,
if you allow that to be the status quo, then you are the blame, not her. If
Correct.
you
I
accept that
agree.
shit,
I agree.
if you accept that as the terms of your relationship, it is you who are the fault and the blame of that.
Like the I want MLC. I want to acknowledge you for something that you did that was kind of profound that nobody said anything about. When the manosphere was melting down like 3 days ago, you sparked up a live stream, and a lot of people went over there, and you mentioned very little about what happened over there. You said move forward, and that was
Yeah.
the best thing that we could do. Period. Move forward, because if we keep arguing with people that we know are playing around, we're not going to get anywhere. We have a goal. We're going to reach that goal. Guys is going to talk about male empowerment. They're going to talk about self improvement. They're going to check each other. Guys are going to talk about cars, video games, movies. This sector is going to become a network of black male agency. But if we keep getting into the minutia deeply every time there's a change going on, a change in power, we're not going to get anywhere, because every network, like look at the black manosphere as a TV, like a TV, like an ISP, internet service provider that has a whole bunch that owns a whole bunch of cable channels. No one channel is on top all the time. USA Network was one of the biggest networks in the 90s because it had Raw's War. Nobody talks about it now. Fox used to be small before it got Martin and Married with
Sure did.
Children, but it's still around. You're not going to be the top dog all the time. Just keep pushing your message and be there, and you're not going to get anywhere by hating on the other channels. You're not. It doesn't work like that, and then we have to stop putting energy into that stuff. And that's
No,
why I'm glad.
it's just that they want you to think that they control the conversation when they don't.
Right. It's a misnomer. They want to throw. They want you to check in, like that type of stuff. The nigga attitude.
No, dude. At the end of the day, you got to move forward beyond this, because
Right.
that's their power at the bottom. I mean, they can only stir the pot if you consistently at the bottom. But if you move forward and move above this stuff, it really don't mean anything.
Yep. In general, something that you said, basically, I don't know men that would be mad if their wife came home extra late. They'd be happy that she got the fuck out the house. He wouldn't even be clocking her like that, because if you're a man, you do what you need to do. I mean, like, if it happens a couple times in a row and your wife your wife ain't communicating with you, you got something to think about your future relationship. But if you say she's going out with her girls, they say she's coming back at 2, and then she come back at like 6. You'll be like, oh, okay, it is what it is. Whereas a girl would think that she's empowered to basically check you on that.
Isn't that a double standard in this particular case?
Of course it is. I mean, that's basically why we're here, because the double standards have been basically legitimized in a type of culture that we shouldn't have accepted, that basically we are ripping away from.
yeah, that you said the right thing, because a lot of guys, they've been programmed by dysfunctional culture to value dysfunctional women. And you got to break free of that program and first accept responsibility for the error that you've been led astray into doing. So, and then that would explain why it would actually shed light on a lot of the choices of women and a lot of things that a lot of guys, including myself, have dealt with. We dealt with women that were beneath us. Well, that were
Well, well,
they
this is what
were.
I would tell you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
No, you got it. You got it.
This is what I would tell you. If you are a compromised man, then you will find yourself in that position. But if you are a non-compromised man, and goddamn it, you setting the standards. The standards are, look here, you can go out with your girlfriend. I know I don't have to give you permission to do that. You're a grown woman. So I expect for you to already come equipped with the knowledge and understanding of having respect for the relationship that we're in and respect for me as a man. You can go ahead on and go out with your girlfriends. I'm not going to tell you what time to be home. You should understand what respect is because you don't have to tell me what time to be home. See,
Yeah.
that's how that works. But if you're a
Yeah.
compromised man, you don't understand that. This
No,
is
not at
why
all.
this is why those things happen. This is why a lot of brothers be like, man, I'm glad the bitch got out the house because they compromise.
Yeah. They don't
They don't
know the
have any
value.
standards.
Yeah, they don't see women are counting on men being weak and not speaking up and not setting the tone from the gate. That they count on that. Like women start gauging you the moment they meet you, and what you don't do that reflects you setting standards and doing that from the gate. That's why they entertain a man they know is weak, because they see
That's right.
opportunity to control him.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They need that.
and
They
it's
need
like
you to be weak.
it's like what they don't understand is for access they'll rather be weak, and that's the problem here. They'd
Yep.
rather sell out their friend for access, and they don't understand what they see as access. She sees as ultimate disrespect for the actual person who she gave access to, because she gives it to whoever she wants. But if
Yep.
she chooses to make it look like she give you access for nonsensical reasons, then you're just a clown, and you don't
Exactly.
understand that you're just a tool of her actual independence. It's crazy.
That's why
Okay.
sometimes if you scan through a woman's exes and you be like, you were with this dude for 10 years, and this dude was a bum all 10 years. He barely did anything, but she gave this dude access. But now she requires you to have six figures. She requires you to do all these things. Sometimes looking at the history of a woman tells you if she's really a pass around, and she's trying to pass herself off
Yep.
as a
Yep.
qualified woman when she's just a pass around who actually knows that she's expired, but she's looking for a man who doesn't who she can manipulate still.
Yo,
Now
Here's
Dennis, you
that
could
you
be.
here's
mentioned it, spiritual logic, I'm sorry to cut you off. Isn't the result of what we're currently seeing because women give up their peace leave way too easily, and then they realize that the children they raise turn out to be dysfunctional, if not destructive?
I mean, they don't really care unless they have control. I don't think that ever even factors into it because they know somebody else is not going to let them starve or anything else. That's what I've been
Yeah.
seeing across the country. Like, I've been doing a lot of east to west stuff, heavily in the west. Like, I'm heavily around Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Utah, and Arizona sometimes. And the police are like camped out there. And most of the people who you see are now whites who are now acting like most blacks used to act, and they're not
Wow.
used to it happening in their communities, where you could pull up and like me, or drive a truck, you could pull up outside of a average hotel, mostly motel, and you'll see people arguing like it's the damn hood, but it's just whites arguing with each other over stuff that you thought blacks were normally arguing over. And it's like that's the way it is now. Everybody is on edge because this whole idea of acting like they can survive without people is failing everywhere. People need productive men everywhere,
Yep.
and they're not in large supply because they ran them off. So now you got these women who are staying in these hotels with multiple kids, and they can't survive.
Yep.
And they are so
listen.
easily talked into these hucksters who get them in situations where they lose even more money, and that's the way it is.
That's
That's
why
what you
most of
do.
them are low key prostitutes.
Listen. This is the one thing that we all have to understand in this space. Human beings are creatures of habits. Let me say it again. Human beings are creatures of habit programmed to take the path of least resistance. Do you understand what I'm telling you? You're programmed to take the path of least resistance. Okay, this is what I mean by that. Um, somebody give me what quote unquote aesthetically, that means the way someone looks, not to insult anyone's intelligence. Who do you consider to be a beautiful woman when you look at them? Superstar, movie star, singer, actress, whomever. Give me one. Somebody. Example.
How about movie star for the example?
Okay, go ahead. Give
All
me
right, go
one.
ahead.
Hmm.
All
Oh,
right, I'll give you
I
one.
thought you mentioned one of the examples. My
Yeah.
apologies.
All right. So I'll give you one. I'll give you a singer. Let's say Alicia Keys. Alicia Keys was, in my opinion, she was a beautiful woman. She's a pretty woman, in my opinion. Yeah, she's mixed, but I'll give Alicia Keys. I'll give you another one better than that, because I know we got black women listening and they'll be like, oh, you would have to go. How about Angela
Man,
Bassett?
fuck them.
Hold on. You
Man,
know
don't,
my
I think you look
stance.
like Alicia Keys.
Okay, Alicia,
She got
let's go.
older.
Let's go Alicia
90s Halle
Keys.
Berry?
Yeah, let's go
Eh,
Halle Berry. Let's go
yeah.
90s Halle Berry. Let's say Halle Berry was just your ordinary chick who worked at the bank, and you walked into the bank one day and you were a single man, she's a single woman, and you said, hey, you know what, Halle? I've been coming in here for quite some time, and I noticed, I was just wondering, are you single? Are you? And she says, no, I'm single. So Halle, and you said, well, I would like to take you out, get to know you. Maybe we could do dinner, brunch or something one of these days. And she said, okay, cool, right? So now you got Halle Berry as your team, as your potential, right? How many brothers that you know of from a certain time frame would turn down a Halle Berry? Now, what'll happen is when you use her as an example, they'll say, well, I heard her pussy stinks and Halle Berry don't fuck with niggas. Well, that's on the contrary. Well, she's mixed. They'll give you a whole bunch of different reasons, but we're talking about the aesthetics of Halle Berry giving you vibes, giving you the opportunity to have sexual access to her body. We're talking about that Halle Berry, that a woman of that caliber. What man would turn that down? They won't tell
Mostly
you,
none.
well, wait, hold on. They won't say, well, I would. You know what they'll say? No, I can't fuck with Halle Berry. She got smothered out. But they'll give you every other reason other than look at what it is that you're talking about. We're talking about a woman who looks like Halle Berry, who has a very pleasant attitude, who meets all of the criteria under which you expect a woman to have. You understand what I'm saying? Who would walk away from that? Because we are
Right.
programmed to take the path of least resistance. What motherfucking nigga you know right now today, if Halle Berry showed up and knocked on their door and said, hey, I've been watching you for quite some time and I really want to get to know you. Matter of fact, I just want to give you some pussy. What nigga you know will walk away and be like, oh, I ain't fucking with Halle Berry. Oh, that big pussy stank. Nope, I can't think of not one. Not one motherfucker I know. Not one,
So that's
because we're programmed to take the path of least resistance.
Mm-hmm.
so
This
that's
whole
what you
Boris
meant by
Kodjoe,
that.
yes, this whole Boris Kodjoe thing and that came up with him and his wife, Amari Parker. Now, when Amari Parker, Irie, whatever the fuck her name was, when she was a younger chick before she lost the sunroof, her hairline and all that shit, man, what nigga you know would turn down?
Wait, she
What
losing
mother?
hairlines? What?
Well, yeah,
Dog,
she going bald.
she look like the alien off the Fifth Element, the Blue
Okay,
John.
but let's go back.
Oh,
Let's
no, don't stop. What are you
see. Hold on now. Hold on. Let's keep it on the level here. This is where I want to keep it.
doing? Yeah, for real.
Let's go back. Let's go back 7 to 10 years. What motherfucking average Negro man you know would
Right, right.
turn down or kick her out of the bed or not take access to her body sexually? What nigga you know would turn that down?
Yeah, I
Pass.
mean,
Mostly
Yeah, I'm
none.
like,
not answering that. I'm not answering
Okay, exactly. So now here we go. Now I'm gonna build up real quick. You see, here's what we have. We got a bunch of threes and fours out here expecting women
that.
wise,
Lizzo.
expecting,
Lizzo.
yep, expecting to find Amari Parker's husband. What's the nigga
Monique.
name?
Monique.
What's the nigga name? What's her husband name?
Which
Boris
one?
Boris
Kojo.
Cujo. You got a
Yeah.
bunch of bitches that are fours at best that expect a Boris Cujo to come and pick their big ass up and carry them off to happily ever after.
That's
That's what
true.
you got.
It's sad, but it's true.
That's what you
Well, I'll
got.
say on some real, it's really the sixes. It's really the sixes and sevens that's really on some shit too. Like the
Yeah,
average
but it.
chicks, they got that mentality. They don't want average dudes at all.
It ain't the sixes and seven, bro. It's the
But I
Lizzos that
believe it. I believe it. It's
it's the
them threes and
Lizzos.
fours.
It's the Lizzos that expect to find that expect for motherfuckers like Boris Kudrow that look like him. I'm talking about looks that look like him, that have the means that he has to get down on one knee and profess their love to them. It's those type
Average,
bitches.
And I blame the
especially
homosexuals.
Yes.
average BWs are worse than like really really pretty BWs. Like they really like
Oh,
on
no.
some other shit.
That
Because when
do agree. Although, even if a woman has a quality education, from my understanding
I'll
so
be on
far,
mute.
every woman has a sexual deviancy in them.
Yeah, but it's not like encouraged by most people.
but at
Oh,
least a
Agreed.
woman that's a
uh,
10 has something to offer. You can have the same attitude in a 3, but she don't have no looks to offer. She don't even have that.
wait, hold on a second. Let me
I
get
mean,
Edward up here. Hold on a second. Keep talking. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I feel what you're saying, bro. I'm just like, you imagine if you said all women had the potential, but all women ain't 10s.
Jeez.
I mean, if you
You
got all
know,
your
real quick, and I'm gonna go back on mute. I've done some serious thinking over the past week. Um, if we had to go back to the barter system, right? That means that we're bartering, we're gonna barter. Men and women are gonna have a bartering system, right? What would the average woman have to trade with the average man?
these days,
No, no,
shoot.
no, no.
slave.
I just want to lay that question out there. We're on a bartering system now, right? That means that we have to trade something for something. What would
Uh-huh.
the average woman see? Because when you say what do they bring to the table, that's a no-no. You can't ask that question. Well, if
Right.
you don't know, then I can't tell you because they don't have an answer. So let's go to the barter system and we're bartering something for something. In other words, we're going to have an even trade. Because when you go to the stores and you need gas in your car, you use your money as the barter system to purchase gasoline to go in your car to fill your tank so that you can drive. That's the barter system, right?
Right.
When you need a pant, when you got holes in your shoes, you take money, go to the store and barter with your money for a new pair of shoes, clothes, or what have you. You get hungry, you take your money and you go with those green $1 bills and you barter for food to feed yourself. So let's go back to the barter system. What is it? And I want women in the chat. If you want, you can answer this. Let's go to the barter system. We're bartering now. Now you have to come up with something feasible for me to provide certain things to do certain things for you. What is it that you're going to give?
Well,
What do you have?
a qualified man who has established a life demands femininity and cooperation from a woman. That's basically a man that's established. That's what he wants: femininity and cooperation. And most women, and that's for most American women, that's the two things they're not willing to give.
Yeah, I mean, but you have a lot of people who's entered this space who's here to nurture their irresponsibility, and that's kind of where you have to step off from giving a shit about what they want and giving a shit about what you want. And if they can't catch up to what you want, you have to step into the point of just not giving a shit about what they think and feel. Because of the people who are cultured properly to compete, they're not going to have a problem. And that's not that higher percentage of women who's out there doing that. But there's a lot of men out there who are cultured, who are continuing the culture of what's happening here to keep this stuff going. And it's not your responsibility. You're not supposed to be on the actual market this long looking for basic shit. But most people, yeah, it's very basic to get cooperation out of a person who wants to cooperate. It's very basic to to
Right. It's like
satisfy the
breathing. It's like
person.
you don't have to force nobody to breathe. It should be automatic.
Correct. And it's like, you're you're trying to get central nervous system shit out of shit that's automatic. Like you don't have to create a central nervous system to control heart rate, blood flow, breathing, all the other shit.
Right.
But they want to treat it, make it look like you got to be like a 10 out of 10 to get basic shit. Hey, somebody
Yep.
got a lot of background noise. Hey, Gon, got a lot of background noise.
Yeah, you're right,
Yeah,
man.
that,
That's what it is. These women, and it's funny because I've noticed that women can switch it on and off, which makes it even more sinister. Because
yeah,
they women are chameleons, and the same woman. And see, this is why we need to stop making excuses for them, because it's more sinister than we think. See, women adapt to the man they're dealing with. So when they see you as weak as hell, they'll play this strong, angry black woman. But when they see, oh, he's a tough guy, then they start coming with this fake submission and fake humility and fake femininity. So on both fronts, you really have to be careful, because you have to make sure a woman's not put on the act, because a lot of dudes are getting duped because maybe they haven't had a lot of experience seeing how deceptive and subtle a woman could be, that they can get fooled, because a lot of women they'll talk soft, and they won't disclose a lot of their past, and they'll act like they just all of that. But like you say, I heard people say, yeah, you need to know about her, if she had a father and what kind of father was he. A little, you got to kind of know about these women. You have to really be discerning. And it's sad that we got to be like this, because like you say, MOT, it should be automatic. Women should just, it should be natural. But unfortunately, in this culture, it's only automatic for them to be dysfunctional, for them to be fake. That's why women are caked up with all this makeup and all that, but their attitude and their soul is dead. And
yeah.
see, that to me,
There's only so much of like buttered Crisco you could put on your face, and there's only so much you could do in life. Before the real you comes out underneath the make, like these these people don't realize, like the real you melts through that makeup faster than a motherfucker. It don't matter. The real you is going to come out sooner or later, and people are not going to like that shit. And at the end of the day, like these are not things that people should be cultured to actually fucking deal with. But they're taking advantage of a situation that they know they didn't create, but they want to actually perpetuate. And these are things that you have to get past. You have to have better experiences that are not here, that are with other people of other cultures in order to be able to compare.
yeah,
Otherwise, you're gonna let the 1 through 5s walk all over you, and you think like I'm a dude from rural Black America, where you have 220-pound bitches who punk dudes for actually trying to talk to them, who act like most motherfucking dating coaches in this manosphere, who act like because they get access to somebody and that's the shit. And it's like you have to be able to move beyond that and be like, look, I'd rather keep my powder dry and get my shit together first before I start engaging in this actual bad marketplace and end up being hooked on it. Because a lot of
yeah,
people end up not understanding how basic this shit is, and then they turn around and be like, dude, I got so much fucking access because I compromised that nothing else fucking matters. But hold on a second,
exactly.
let me welcome Edward Anderson to the panel. What's going on, Edward?
What's up, Ed?
Hey,
What's up? Bear with me. It's been a minute since I used Zoom, so I'm navigating through this shit. But yeah, what's up? What's up, man? Yeah, it's
Oh
an
man,
interesting
it's a
topic.
bunch of buttons, man. They look like their chess piece on fucking like Darth Vader.
Yeah, yeah, I had to
Like
figure it out myself.
for nerds
yeah,
only. I'm like,
same here.
like some
Yeah,
Linux bullshit. But yeah,
yeah.
but
What's
no,
going on, man?
yeah. I mean, I'm just listening for right now. I mean, you know how it is with the pump and up shit. I ain't been, I've been in the chat with it on mute, so I'll jump in when I need to.
And I went, okay, and I'll add this, y'all. I noticed, and this is to the topic about pump and dump versus. I would tell you, when you're dealing with dysfunctional females, both a state sanctioned marriage and pump and dump are risky. A lot of dudes don't realize
Yeah, no, you're right.
you're doing two sides of the same coin. because a lot of dudes are catching charges and catching all kinds of issues, pumping and dumping, just like dudes are sacrificing a lot financially in marriages. It's see you the common denominator is the dysfunctional female. Doesn't matter what you're doing with her. What matters is that she's the dysfunctional female. She's the same female that's plotting on you, just in a different medium.
Well,
You
that
know, 'cause
niggas are sloppy. I mean that's really, and
exactly.
it's true for both of those mediums, not necessarily just the pump and dump. I mean, again, what black
Exactly.
men need to understand, or black dudes that are teenagers, like 15, 16, really 13, is your dick is gonna get you in 80% of the trouble you're gonna get into, either directly or in a 1 degree of separation. If you understand that and move accordingly, you'll avoid a lot of shit that you otherwise wouldn't avoid.
Hey, what's going on in the background, man? Somebody got a lot of background noise. What's going on?
Oh, that ain't me. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they ain't, yeah. I don't know. Somebody talking about getting an attorney and shit. But anyway, yeah. I mean, that's how they get you. Nah, but anyway, that's what it is though. It's dudes being sloppy, and dudes are playing Russian roulette with. First of all, most dudes know that when they playing Russian roulette when it comes to marriage or when it comes to pumping and dumping. You know, same niggas that say, "Oh man, hey, she crazy, but that pussy good though." The same dudes is gonna start simping, and be yanked, finessed in the marriage or
Yeah.
finessed in the
Yeah.
fatherhood. I'm not saying yeah.
Accessophiles. I call them accessophiles. Like the motherfuckers will go around and turn any type of access into a permanent situation, so long as they keep getting access. They'll
Yeah.
compromise fucking anything for access. They will grab on to any narrative. Niggas will be out there selling mind comp on like the fucking corner
Yeah, they
just so
don't
they
know how
can
to
get
leave pussy
access.
alone.
Well,
No,
Black
no,
well,
no, not at all.
well,
Not at
those
all. Crazy.
those are facts. Those are facts, and part of that reason is because a lot of the people, a lot of the men that you hear speaking in space who still want to uphold the status quo, they've never been around cream of the crop or premier women. They've never been in those environments, so that all they know is what they are accustomed to. And likewise, a lot of the women who have the same complaints about men, they've never been around premier cream of the crop men. They've never been around those environments. So they want to hold the status quo in place because that's what they're used to dealing with. So that if you only see one side of the game and you only see what's in the 10 to 15 square block of where you live at in your community, then that's what you become accustomed to. But
All right.
once you go outside of that, then you see a different side and you see a different caliber of men and women.
Yeah.
Like a
I
lot of
mean, like
brothers
the
that I hear
general.
talk that have so much. Uh-huh.
Like
Go ahead, brother.
a great example was me was basic training. Grew up in the Mississippi
Yeah,
Delta.
exactly.
Hardly no fucking women. I went to Texas and I'm like, how the fuck am I getting access to all this great looking fucking women? And I'm acting the
There you
exact
have it.
same or less. Dude, it's all about environment. And the women wanted
They-
that they didn't give a fuck. They was like, man, hard penis, we're off base. You're getting it. No one else is near. You're going to be able to, doesn't matter. I'm married. It doesn't matter. It's just gonna be a night. That that's the way it was. And it's like for once men had agency in those type of environments. And that was
li- li-
my first taste of
Well,
noticing that holy shit, I've been in a sheltered fucking environment where I had to deal with shit on an environment that this shit wasn't even privy to me. And then I went from there to like Germany. So it was like worse than in Texas.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so
the thing about it is that's something that kind of you don't know what you don't know kind of thing. People purposely stay to a certain extent. Well, this is the United States of America. You can move if you want to. You can put yourself. It's very cheap to not necessarily move, but to put yourself in another environment, even for a temporary basis. People choose to be in the environments they are, and I would argue people actively avoid things that are alien to them. I know. So this idea that people just don't know what they don't know, and they just can't help themselves. I mean, I'm from Chicago. I know motherfuckers that they don't leave the damn county, and that's a
okay,
choice.
Okay, I get all of that, but then you should not come out and speak to certain topics as if you know all. And that's where we run into these problems at. Because you got, if you listen to what's been going on in this gender war, that is what's been happening. You got motherfuckers that have not been privy to anything outside of their state, and they want to speak to it as though they know everything about everything. They are the answer to all, and that's not true. You can't be the case in point. I had a homeboy in the military. We got stationed together in New York. We go down to Manhattan. This motherfucker is from the back turn streets of motherfucking Louisiana.
Oh
He
no.
ain't never had a woman. He never had a woman, a beautiful woman, a top tier woman, to ever send him a drink. The first time that shit happened to him, and we were in Manhattan,
Oh
downtown New
no.
York.
Oh
The
no.
first time that shit ever happened to him, and that woman sent him a drink, and the bar, the little concierge came over and said, "This is compliments from the woman over at table, whatever it was." He lost his fucking mind. And I'm like, yo, just calm down, chill out, relax, tip your motherfucking glass to her. Then you ask the concierge what it is that she's drinking, and then you send her a drink. That's how you handle that. He didn't know. He was ready to run over there with his country ass and get to being goofy as fuck. Hey, what's going on? How you doing? Yeah, you sent me a drink.
Yes,
And see,
I know.
when
I know those dudes, but we
Dude,
root.
listen.
and that type of dude, that type of those are the type of men that you get will come up on here on these platforms and speak as if they've been in those scenarios, and when you tell them this, they will sit and tell you you're lying. That don't happen. Well,
Those are the
it's
type
never
of
happened.
dudes that tend to
Right.
be gynocrisists and start caping for women uncontrollably.
Dangerous.
They
There
tend
you
to not
go.
Dangerous.
be on the other side because the thing about it is stuff like that it gets rooted out because you can tell somebody like who you're describing. It becomes very apparent in how not so much how they communicate, but what they're communicating and the depth and level by which what they're talking about. This is why
And
a
that's
lot
what
of
I'm
times you'll
talking
ask
about. And
what
that's what I
scenario you
mean.
out of because they start
And that's
saying
what I mean.
patterns that's relative to a certain environment. Um, so my thing about and as far as the know all piece, the difference between in the manosphere and like in other spheres, like for instance, when the females talk, for the most part, the females tend to sync up on some emotional wavelength. Dudes are always arguing, battling, so stuff like that gets rooted out. So if somebody claims that they don't know all, but the stuff they're not making sense, like depending on what environment they are, or it's unique in an environment, that comes out. So a lot of times, and I'm gonna say this and then I'll back off of it. What happens is people like to put everything when it comes to black people. I'm gonna talk specifically ADOS black people. We love to live in the gray. We love to live in the it can be anything or opinions are just somebody's opinion. So all opinions are equal. You see it in all areas of activity that we engage in because that gives people a way to use subjective language and emotional language in order to be right. It's a way for them to subvert logic and subvert the facts. So they always say, well, your opinion is just your opinion, or this is just my opinion, and it's all opinions, when there is such a thing as an informed opinion and uninformed opinion. And does this apply to this situation? And does this make sense? And what
And
happens
that's
is, yeah, so
and that's what I mean, because they've not had that experience, so they can't see that happening, which is why people like that in these spaces tend to have the bigger voice. And so when you say it gets rooted out, it does when you're dealing with certain people, or when you're in a certain space to where it can get rooted out. But oftentimes what happens is in these spaces in the digital footprint, it turns into personal attacks, and you can never cut through the meat in order to get to the bone.
well,
That's all I'm saying.
so
I'm
when
not
you
saying
say so when you
anything
say
different than
rooted
what you're
out,
saying.
what do you when you say like it bigger voice? So what are you saying? You saying that
Well,
I'm saying I don't know. Are black men too hard on black women
those
or
are no. Those are typically the individuals that have the bigger voice. Those are typically the individuals that are more charismatic. Those are typically the individuals that typically overtalk the conversation and gets their point of view out in front of the actual truth. There's a truth. Look, is her side, his side, and then there's the truth in these conversations. as it opposes to the gender war that's happening in
So
this
can you
space.
give me an example of a truth that of something that black men say that's his side, this bullshit. That's not really the truth. They in this space.
Can I give you an example? State that question
So
again.
her side, his side is the truth. What's an example of
Well,
his
you you
side
you
that's
you
counter
you
to
will
the
have
truth?
you will have some men that will say, for example, in the case of child support, that all women want, they're not interested in the child. They just want money from the man. They could give a fuck less about anything else. And that's simply not the truth.
I've
That's
never heard
one
that.
example. Well, I have, and that's just one
In this
example.
space,
Yeah, well, not in this particular space. I'm just speaking in the Black YouTube space, as per it happens on different panels when we have this conversation, and that's simply not the truth. Just like when you will have women, they'll say men they just want to fuck women and don't have any responsibility to them after they fuck them, and that's simply not the truth. You got women that'll say, for example, men just want to get women pregnant, and then they'll walk off and leave the kids, leave the woman and the kids. That's not true.
well, the thing about the first part that you said with dudes, that's emotionalism, and I always hedge against that, because at the end of the day, a dude saying some emotional everything is everything shit, it doesn't allow. It just says it's like walking in. I mean, y'all are military, so I'm not gonna pretend like I know. But when you deal with landmines, you saying, "Oh, you got to get to another part," and you see there's landmines. Just saying there's landmines, you have to actually be able to navigate your environment. Is basically the metaphor I'm trying to have. So just saying this is what it is and not understanding any nuance of what it is, it's also a way of pawning off your responsibility. That's childish, and that gets called, like, if somebody were to say that around me, it gets called out. But it's
Again, you said when it gets called, when it happens around you, when it happens around me, it get called out.
because I mean I'm told that I have
This is
very
why I was a call. This is
I don't
why
have
the other
empathy
night.
for dudes on child support.
Right, but this is why I was accused the other night of hating black women when I have been married to
What?
three different. Yeah, when I
Yeah,
have
right,
been
right,
married,
right. I heard that too.
when I
Oh,
have
okay.
been
Wait,
See,
married,
wait, wait.
when
Hold on,
I
wait, hold on. What
let me
panel was
finish.
this, and what was the
join
topic?
the congratulations. You have
Well,
your card now.
I was on Rules channel. So when I lived
Yeah, they
outside
see
of the
you.
continental United States for 10 consecutive years in Germany, in Italy, and in Africa. I've been accused of hating black women. This is the narrative that they will push. Again, this is kind of going back to what you were saying, Edward. I've been accused of hating, well, you just hate black women. If you want to know who you can't question, ask who you can't criticize. Anytime you as a black man have a criticizing point towards black women, they will automatically go to that benchmark of, well, you just hate black women.
Was this a
No,
dude or a female that said
this
this?
was a female.
Of
No,
course,
and
I'm
Uh-huh.
called a misogynist every day.
hold on. I've had some dudes to say that too in certain spaces. Now, so let me finish. So I've been married to nothing but three different black women. I've never had sex with a woman outside of the black race.
That don't mean shit.
I only date black
God
women.
damn.
My mother's a black woman. I have two black daughters. My grandmother was black. Countless members of my family are black women. So where would I develop such a hatred for black women? Just because I called out the ills that befall our community? No, that's not what it is. What it is that you want to silence my opinion because you see the truth in it.
Well, you can be a
That's what it is.
loyal dog all your life. You just got to bite the hand once. You getting shot.
Well, see, biting the hand. But when you say biting the hand once, it doesn't. That only equates down to what? That equates down to me actually moving outside of the community, just like I
No,
say all
that's
the
not.
time.
That's not. I mean, I get that. That's the obvious part, and you're right that that's the obvious part. But as you can see, I mean, Snoop Dogg was in the same situation. I'm sure Snoop Dogg fucked a non-black bitch here or there, but for the most part, Snoop Dogg is a loyal black man with black women, community. But he say some shit that was on some righteous shit, and you see,
Right. I get
it
what you're
doesn't
saying.
matter if you just fuck black women. That I'm not
I get.
saying you shouldn't just fuck black women, but a lot of times, no, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm saying a lot of times dudes think that a black man never has absolute immunity unless you are so sexually attracted to black women that you get an immunity pass. R. Kelly, Chris Brown, you are never immune just by fucking black women.
Well,
That's
no.
something a lot
What
of
it is,
dudes
what it
think.
is,
Go ahead.
what it is If you want to know who you can't criticize, ask who you can't question. And in this space, in this digital space, as it opposes to Black YouTube, you cannot question a Black woman. You cannot bring up anything that they do that are ill-begotten unto the community. If you say that there are Black women who need to change their attitudes, you're wrong. If you say that there are Black women who need to stop wearing excessive and different colors of fucking yaki down the back of their goddamn neck, you're wrong. If
Yeah,
you
you're
say that
talking
there
about
are
overall, right? You're just talking about
right,
like not even just
that's
necessarily
where I'm at,
YouTube, but just
because
Facebook.
and the
Just
reason why
okay.
I say overall is because it's mighty funny that you have in this space where Black women can come together and say what, and one in particularly, which I won't name that person, but you got a lot of them who follow suit. They will say shit like this: what are Black men doing collectively? Which is the same question that Black men turn around and say, well, what do Black women bring to the table collectively? And there's not an answer.
Well, I mean, my answer to that is they're not fucking Black men collectively. I mean, what a Black
Not at
man is
all.
doing
Not at all.
collectively is between who you give your pussy to and who you are trying to deal with anyway. This idea of collective respect, I mean, it's a fundamental misunderstanding about how communities work, and it shows how childish we are about that. So arguments like that are just justifications for people to do what they otherwise just want to do anyway. Because at the end of the day, the person that you mentioned went to the other side of the country, literally, and the United States is not a small country, to get a nigga that hasn't even demonstrated he can deal with like the four bitches he's dealing with. So there's that. That's
Right.
end of. And then
The,
again,
the only thing I'm saying,
so
is we gotta cut. We can't make it a personal attack, and we have to
well,
continue to speak.
it's not about
And
it being a personal attack. It's
we
just a
have to
fact.
continue to speak. We
Yeah.
have to. I know what it is. We have to continue to speak in generality about things, right? So we're speaking in general here, and that's
Well, a
where I
lot of
like to
those
keep the
that
topic
that
of the
situation is
conversation.
a very general situation where folk will
It
say,
is
collectively, because remember, black women like to, again, they like to complain in generalities because it allows them to kind of vent their stuff out and not get I'll give you an example. Let's take the colorism argument. A lot of folks that make the colorism argument, now these are not all Black women to make this argument, let me be clear, but a lot of Black women to make this argument that'll go in pro-Black spaces, they're always around a very, very diversified group, which is code for they don't got a lot of Black people in that group. It's a lot of non-Blacks, and they'll sit there and they want sympathy, saying, oh, colorism, and then when you dig into what they're talking about, not even personally but just asking questions about what they mean, you start to find, okay, you're not really dealing with Black people, so you're bringing a colorism argument about non-Black people, and then you think Black people supposed to feel fucking sorry for you. I mean, at the end of the day, same thing with SYSBM, and SYSBM came in here complaining about what non-Black folks are doing to Black folks. That doesn't make sense. But see, this the games that a lot of people will try to play in order to get sympathy, when in actuality they're not even really fucking with you like that. Don't even get me started about that doctor bitch that's talking about the vaccines. But anyway.
Oh, you mean the one
And
that made a post on Twitter that they found a cure for the COVID-19? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm talking about that.
yeah,
Yeah, whatever that bitch that she got all these tweets. They killed her old Twitter account because she got all this
yeah.
shit talking shit about Black people. But now she's supposed to be I love science. I love this. Yeah. But don't get me started.
That
I
is
mean,
a
but
red flag.
oh, like I mean, but when you used to operating in free fire zones, they think that nothing is above board because all they gotta do is just flash a fucking chest and just say something positive about Black men, and their fucking history don't matter. So that's just where we at, man. Well, let me get up out of here. Let me give a shout out to everybody for coming out. Thank the people who subscribe to the Patreon and
Peace, MOT,
for
peace.
Yeah,
super chatting, and the people who did the Cash App.
Thank you for inviting me to this conversation.
I
All right,
gotta
no
figure out
problem,
how to
man.
get the fuck out of here.
hey, peace, MOT.
I don't
I plan on
understand
being a
either.
return offender. I
No, man,
plan
that's
on being a
that.
return offender.
I mean, but here's the thing, man. I'm not trying to have bullshit conversations. So it doesn't matter whether you
Right,
keep
right,
coming
right.
back or not. That I'm actually trying to make actual progress. I'm not trying to do pan narratives with fucking fuck niggas who ain't never done shit with their life. I know you've done shit with your life. I've done shit with my life. We both ex-military, but there's a lot of ex-military motherfuckers on here who are pushing fucking narratives that are
That ain't
fucking
done shit.
bullshit.
Yep.
They haven't done shit
And
beyond
that's where I
being in
am.
a situation that they didn't choose to be in, right?
And that's
And
where I am.
yeah,
When War with the General premieres, that's where I want to be. I want to have the conversations that will yield to some results. I don't want to keep the circular narrative going. I want to say, here's the problem. This is the prognosis that we've been given. Now, what is the cure for the prognosis that we've been given? That's where I am. So, peace again, brother, and thanks for having me up. And I hope you have me again.
all right. Thank you so much for coming on, Aaron Jackson. Any last word before you get up out of here?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me to this opportunity to learn as I took notes. And second, would this stream be recorded on YouTube or just Patreon?
No, no, no. This is a YouTube stream. I'm not doing the actual Patreon stream until I do the revised what is it? Standards for Brotherhood. That's tomorrow night when they're going 11. That was
All
supposed to
right.
be
I'm
my
looking.
original first Patreon stream, but a lot of people, like 20 people, emailed me tonight, and some of them didn't want the name shout out, so I didn't. So that's what we're gonna be doing from here on out. We're gonna be talking about male progress. We're not gonna be sitting here focused on what the fuck women are doing with their time and all that shit. There's enough broke ass fucking compromised dudes out here who give a shit about what these women want, and that's not what my channel is about or for. We're about having these conversations and moving the fuck forward from this. I got a ton of shit, years of shit recorded already that I haven't even
All right.
dropped on Patreon. So this is what I wanted to do. And so thank you for coming on, man. Thank you for being professional and waiting for people. I know how it is a free fire zone. But I want to thank you for coming out, man. And thanks for coming on and sharing your perspective with us.
Glad I was able to, and I look forward to doing it again.
All right. Thank you so much, man. You have a really nice day. All right, man. For everybody else watching,
You too.
all right. Thanks so much, Aaron Jackson. All right, man. For everybody else watching, DJ Cuda right now has a live stream. Hold on a second while I go to his channel so that way I can post it because that's where I'm going to next. And hold on a second. Boom, boom, boom. Next, please subscribe. All right, so this is where I'm going next. DJ Cool is where I'm going next. So I want to thank everybody for coming out, man. This is my first stream. It's definitely not going to be a Patreon one, but the one I planned on doing is one that's about the revised rules for brotherhood, so that way we can be able to move forward. Your life has nothing to do with the comfort of women. The comfort of women has been taken care of by the society itself and in whole. So you have to be able to move forward and operate on things in your own manner as these people expect for you to do to them. You're not obligated to do anything for these people. And the only thing you have to do is just keep moving forward in life as an actual person. I want to thank everybody for super chatting, the people who have Cash App, and the people who have subscribed to my Patreon. It's going to be a ton of content there. I only want you as a Patreon there if you're dedicated to moving forward. I don't give a shit how long you be there. There's going to be a ton of ebooks, a ton of all kinds of shit that you can get into. But even if you subscribe for a month, I still want you to get the most out of this shit so that way you can move forward. I don't care if you like me as a person. I'm already at the place where you want to be in life, right? So none of that shit's hard. But I just want y'all to be able to move forward. So go over there to DJ Kuda. I want to thank everybody for coming out. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And please pass this on to another dude. I don't care what race you are, who can actually benefit from my content. And thank you so much for coming out. You guys have a really nice night. Thank you. Peace.